welcome to another episode of Creative Ops, a podcast for creative people by creative people. I am creative person Christopher Talon, host of the show. I'm really excited because today I've got an interview with Peter Terrace, a veteran surf photographer who's, I'm not even kidding, his work has inspired dreams of mine. I've actually seen his pictures, taken them out of the magazine, put them up on the walls in places, and then at night seen those pictures come alive in my dreams. So when I found where he was on social media, I had to reach out to him, and he was like, yeah, man, let's do it. Your show is amazing. I was already a super fan. Okay, maybe not, but now he is. I guarantee it, because we spent almost 3 hours talking to each other. A record by far. But before we get to the show, I want to tell you about my friends. My buddy Vince opened the Irie Kitchen in Grand Rapids a couple of years ago when he was 19 years old. He's been taking a lot of his family's recipes. His family comes from Jamaica by way of England. Amazing story. His parents are both from Jamaica, met in London, came here. Now we have Vince, who's our native Grand Rapids guy, who's been bringing his family's tradition of cooking this amazing Caribbean street food, bringing it to us here in Grand Rapids. We are so fortunate. If you are in the West Michigan area and you eat food, you have to go to the Irie Kitchen. It is the best. Every time I've told somebody to go there, they've come back and said, it's better than you said it was. And I really hyped this place up. Go check them out at www.irie.kitchen. Yep, there's no at the end, www.irie.kitchen. Nestled deep in beautiful Kentucky is this little company called Baby Farm Soaps. They're so small, you can only find them on Facebook. Go there, tell them, hey, you know what? I heard about you on Creative Ops, and I got to check you out because I heard that your soap is amazing, feels great, the bars last forever, and that you've also got bath bombs and beard balm and lip balms of all sorts and flavors. Yeah, it's true. They've got everything that you need for your manly or feminine bathroom needs. Go check them out. It's amazing. All organic stuff made with love and care, and they can even customize the labels. They make great gifts. You're looking for a gift for a bachelor party or a bachelorette party, or for a birthday or for a wedding, or just an individual thing to give somebody to say, hey, happy birthday, or hey, I was just thinking about you in the pandemic. I know we can't all be together. Here's a beautiful gift basket from Baby Farm Soaps. I hope this lifts your spirits. Check them out on Facebook, Baby Farm Soaps. This show is possible in the first place because of Hey Guys Media Group. You can find them at heyguysmediagroup.com and on social media, but start there, heyguysmediagroup.com, and see what these guys can do for you. Because if you have ever thought about making a podcast, these are the guys to talk to. They can consult you before you get started. If you're already going, hey man, I want to do it, I just don't know what to do, what gear to get, what do I need, how do I do it? They can get you started. They can do it all for you for the first episode, first couple episodes. You can buy a package. You can go episode to episode. Say, we want to keep you on full time. You guys are great. You guys have the experience we need and the professionalism that we need. You're our guys from here on out. Or just say, hey, will you teach me how to do this myself? That's what I did. And look, I can almost do it now. So go to heyguysmediagroup.com. Find out how they can help you make your podcast. heyguysmediagroup.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the OG sponsors of the show, Rivertown Adventures. Check them out at rivertownadventures.com. They are the most fun, I know I say it every time because it's true, you're going to have outdoors in Lansing, or anywhere else for that matter, but you got to go to Lansing to see them. Not just in Lansing, because now they've got some new routes too. So now you can go down the Grand River, the Red Cedar River, and the Looking Glass River. So in and around Lansing, the best, by far, award-winning to prove it, Rivertown Adventures. Get over there, tell them, hey, I heard about you guys on Creative Ops. And they're going to say, you know what? Time to live free. Go paddle. rivertownadventures.com. Go check them out. My guest today was Peter Terrace, who is a veteran surf photographer who has worked for decades, well, to be specific, between magazines like Surfer Magazine and Trans World Surf. He's taken some really, really iconic images over the years and some that have been of personal value to me. As I had said before, I used to dream about the pictures in those magazines, specifically some of his. And it was really fun to get to talk to somebody who's given you, that kind of experience with a piece of art, So we talked about that and we got a little into the weeds and talked about lots of other stuff too during our overnight conversation. From him being on the West Coast, we ended up starting, for me in the Midwest, like at 10 o'clock at night and then finishing at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So this one's a little longer than normal, but it was a fun conversation. So I hope you guys like it. Without further ado, here is my conversation from the other night with my new friend, Peter Terrace. Go check him out. He's Peter Terrace on Instagram, and check him out. He's also part of the Stellar Stories, which is stellar.co, and you can find him at stellar.co/Peter Terrace, which is also in the notes. Here it is. Peter Terrace. Thanks, everybody. Don't spend the entire time talking about yesterday's kook of the day.
Oh, yeah. Yesterday's kook of the day?
Spin class, dude. I just got done laughing at that for like a minute straight.
Yeah, that one was pretty good. Did you see the one today on the new shirt?
The day, with him, Ron and his son? Or
Yeah.
John? I said,
Yeah.
I have Ron stuck in my head now from the video where John died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I mean, I'm pretty new to like the kook of the day game. Being part of that now for just about a year. So like, and I'm more of like the marketing, like you should get the kook on the show or get Beef on the show to talk about kook of the day, because those guys are just hilarious. Like they could just riff off and on, or even like Jonathan Wayne Freeman, for example. But
yeah, that dude's funny.
But they would be like, I would say, just talking terms, like they would do a better job of like giving you the ins and outs of the history of the channel and stuff, which is freaking hysterical.
Dude, yeah, I've been enjoying that. Say that again?
I said I'm the new guy on that team.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's start with the old stuff that you did before the new stuff that you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a long time, you took pictures for various surf magazines, Surfer Magazine, Surf Magazine, and others, right?
Yeah. Trans World, and then Surfing, and then Surfer. So between the two, since 1996. So yeah, what is that? My math's horrible. So over 2 decades.
Yeah. Well, when you got into photography, did you get into photography specifically to do that? Or were you interested in photography and then that came along, or, like two interests merged together?
So it's funny. That's like how I got into, I feel like a better part of my life, I've always got into something out of like necessity. It wasn't like, oh, I want to get into photography because I really love picking up the camera. I actually took photography class in high school as, I think it was a junior or senior at San Clemente High School. And I absolutely hated it. I lasted like 7 days in the class, and they're like, yeah, so the aperture is, 5.6, and we're going to do a 500th of a shutter speed. And I was like, oh my God, this is like math. Like, what are you talking about? Like shutter speeds. And it was just like, it sounded like numbers to me before even picking up the camera.
Yeah.
Before our introduction to even like getting the camera in our hands, like we had to learn all like the shutter speeds and apertures. And that was like math to me. I'm like, I just want to shoot a photo. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're going to be processing your own film, by the way, and making your own prints. And I'm like, oh my God, this sounded like rocket science to me. This is back in '96 when it was all like, print film. So I actually like couldn't stand it. And it wasn't until like, what was it? It was probably like, that was 90. So yeah, I took that class in like 93, 94. And it wasn't until like my senior year of high school where there was a local surf photographer and a journalist, Fred Swaggles. He's an icon kind of in the San Clemente community. And he's like, I got this old water housing. If you know anyone that wants to buy it. And it was like a camera and a lens. It was like a Minolta camera, a Minolta 50 millimeter fixed lens, and like this old shoebox water housing.
And now a fixed lens, just to make sure, that means like you can't switch out lenses on it. It's just what you got on there, right?
Yeah, it's just a 50 millimeter, straight 50 millimeter lens, like no zoom or anything.
Right.
And it's just, he's like, I'll sell it to the whole thing for like $150. And like, I'm like, oh man, like $150. So I started like, I don't even know. Like, I think I was looking in like the magazines or something, or like, I don't even know if the internet existed there, but I'm like, oh, I'll sell it for like $250. I'll make like $100.
Yeah.
And like, I was just thinking of like, just trying to make like a quick buck, trying to turn the thing around. And I actually got it in my hands and like the battery was full. So like, I think it even had like a roll of film in it. So I'm like, oh, I'll just shoot a couple of pictures. And it ended up like shooting like a roll of film with it of my younger brother, who was like growing up in San Clemente, even in the 90s and the 80s, like everyone was like, you knew, like there were so many professional surfers. I mean, this is going back, 7 generations now, of somewhat professionalism in this sense, give or take, whether they're getting free surfboards or whatnot. But so I guess, everyone in San Clemente was, a professional athlete. And so my brother was actually a red hot up and coming amateur. And so I just started shooting photos of him. And like, he actually started to win contests, and like, I still had the camera around. I was throwing it out in the water every once in a while. And eventually, he started winning contests, and then he started winning everything in his division. And then he started winning everything in the next division up. And then he had to surf as like 11-year-old. He had to surf against 15-year-olds, and he was still winning those divisions. And so that was like, okay, well, maybe I can make a buck here. Cause people started asking me like, hey, do you have any photos of your younger brother? Like, you have a camera, you have a water housing. Like, and so I just started shooting photos of him and actually starting to sell photos of him. And then I met Mike Lostness through that, and then Nathan Yeomans, and then kind of one thing turned into another, and kind of just steamrolled into graduating high school, shooting photos. And then, the magazine starting to give me film, Surfing Magazine, Wave Action originally. John Kepler, I'd submit photos of him and he gave me like $50, $100. And then Surfing Magazine gave me a couple $100.
Yeah. Well, how old were you when you first started like submitting photos for people?
I guess I was 17. I started submitting photos to publications when I was 17, my junior year. And it was mostly just like I think I got my first check was like $50. And I was like, oh my God, like they give me $50 for this photo. And then like really soon after that, because there wasn't a lot of water surf photographers in it sounds crazy to say now, but like back then in the mid 90s, there wasn't like a ton of like water surf photographers, meaning in San Clemente, there was like a couple. And that was like,
you're talking the guys that actually get in the water and let the surfers get like inches from their face.
Yeah. So I had that old bulky water housing and was taking it out there, floating it around. And there wasn't a lot of people doing it. There was, Larry Flame Moore, who was an icon for Surfing Magazine, photo editor at that time. And there was Jeff Flint, who was also a local brilliant surf water photographer, who was already at that point staff for, oh my God, there's Jeff Flint, like I think he was like 21 and I was like 17 or something. And I would always ask him, because you'd see him and be like, so what shutter speed are you shooting on? What aperture? It wasn't like you shot the photo and you looked on the back of your camera like, oh yeah, exposure's on right. It was like a full guessing game, and everyone had their little secrets on how they were processing their film, and they're pushing it 2/3 of a stop and a half stop. And, oh, you're shooting Velvia. Oh, you're shooting Provia film. Like everyone had their little secrets, and you kind of kept it to yourself. It was kind of like, that's how you made your money, was having like really sharp photos that were exposed correctly.
I was going to say, did it take a while to get people to give you those tips, or once you were like in the building, were they like, oh yeah, man, for sure?
I remember like when I started to figure it out, like I remember people were like, oh fuck, like his photos are like actually sharp now.
Oh, so it was competitive. It wasn't like a, hey, let us help you out.
It's always competitive. The surf industry is kind of funny that way, it's like everyone's like best buddy, but also everyone's like super competitive. Like, oh my God, you got the cover shot. That's great. And you're like kind of like smiling through your teeth. But no, I think everyone has like the best interest for everybody. But back then, like it was I didn't realize how quickly it was going to steamroll into like a career, like from Wave Action to Surfing Magazine being like 97, 98, and like them giving me hundreds of dollars worth of film to go out and shoot. And then them going, hey, we're going to pay you $500 a month. And my rent at that time in Capitol Beach, was like $350. So between shooting surf photos, and delivering pizzas a couple days a week, I was making like $2,000 a month. Like I was like rolling in money back then. $2,000 a month was like, you could do whatever you want. You're like doing like popping bottles into bottle service, like, but like, it was crazy. Like, surf photographers made more money in the 90s and even in the early 2000s that they did way more than they do now. It's
has it just become like, has the market for photographers just become overcrowded or?
No, I just don't think brands are just like, it's probably like a discussion we'll have this after a couple beers here. We'll have this in like an hour and a half and we'll get into like where it is now. But just back then it was, the Surfing Magazine and being at Surfing Magazine for, 4 years as a senior photographer there or whatnot from 97 to 2002. In that 5-year span and selling ads, it was like, I remember all my other friends were going to college and I was like, I had like $70,000 in the bank. And my dad's going, you could buy that. Like there's this house in Short Cliffs right now that's like kind of falling off the cliff. It has some foundational problems, but it's on sale for like $140K. Like you could put 50% down. That house now is worth like 1.6 million. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to go buy some turntables and some like vinyl records and just blow it on stupid stuff. Like,
sure. Like a kid would do. Yeah.
Like a kid would do. Like, I'm going to go buy like, I'm going to go put a $3,000 stereo system in my $1,500 Toyota 1980. Like, stuff like that. I was like, the sickest sound system in this 86 Toyota Tercel. I remember I spent like $3,000 on a sound system for like in 96.
A car that was worth that.
In 96, I spent $3,000 to put into a car that was 10 years old. That was an 86 Toyota Tercel. And I thought I was the shit. I would like go down to T Street blasting like, I think Snoop Dogg's like, what album was it? I think like the Chronic was out. What year did the Chronic come out? Like 94 or something? It was Snoop Dogg's first album. And I remember going down to T Street just
was that Doggy Style?
Doggy Style. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I just remember going down to T Street just blaring that album thinking I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but I liked it.
Chicks will think I'm the coolest. Yo, baby, you want to get in this Tercel?
Oh my God. But there wasn't like, see, that's the thing though, is like, I think there's that misconception too, that like San Clemente has always been the way it's been. Like it's always been this like, this little Spanish village by the sea that has tons of money. And there's like a mini Laguna Beach. But back in the 80s and 90s, you could cut Laguna Beach. Like that Data Point was kind of the hybrid middle, but like between San Clemente and Laguna Beach, like you could cut that with a knife. Like it was and I'm not going to like, it sounds silly to say, but like compared to like going to someone's house in Laguna Beach, I was like, oh, this kid's on the surf team and he's a sophomore in Laguna Beach High School. Go to his house and you'd be like, oh my God, this is like a $4 million house. Where like, I mean, that was just right when like Cotton's, like when all those estates next to Cotton's Point were opening up, Cypress Shore, Cypress Cove. Those were like brand new developments. When they're like really like high end. I was like, oh my God, that was like the first signs of money.
Yeah.
Town, I feel like, as far as like big money.
Yeah. And then people were like, oh, that's a nice little spot. And it just kind of kept coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I want to go back just a little bit to what you said that you got started just taking pictures of your brother. One of the questions that a buddy of mine who is a photographer wanted to ask was, first of all, do you have to get like a special camera or is it just a housing? But you answered that for the most part, it's housing. Or do they actually have cameras now that you can like just dip underwater?
Well, I think GoPro would probably be the closest to like the all immersive camera in one shell,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I mean, it's funny. Like, I truly think that like kind of anything goes when it comes to like you could put it in a plastic baggie. You could put a Holga in a plastic baggie or something. You could put like a disposable camera. Like if I guess it defines like what like define professionalism, you know, and like what does that equate to? Is that like a dollar sign? Is that because you're making X amount of money that you're a professional? Is it because you have X amount of like what's the currency that makes you a professional or says you have to have this setup for this art? Just that's just kind of the way I approach it. And I understand your friend's question. Your friend's question is like, okay, well, you know, you can get the Nikon or the Sony or the Canon. Like the Canon 5D Mark IV, I guess, is probably like the latest greatest thing. The Nikon, I don't even know what it is. They call it like I think a F5 now or something. Probably like on an F8 or something like that. But like the high end digital SLR camera, and then you have Sony with like their A7 III now. I think it is A7 III's. I don't even know, or the X or something. I think it is. So like Sony, Canon, and Nikon make all like high end DSLR cameras that are like all pretty much, you know. I think the Canon stuff isn't completely, and I'm so not like the camera nerd like I was. So people could poke holes in this theory all day if they want to. But you know, a lot of mirrorless cameras are coming out now, 50 megapixels, and you pair one of those with like a really high end camera shell or a camera housing, which would be, you know, SPL. I think makes great stuff.
And I was going to say, are those universal more or less, or do you have to buy like specific ones for your model camera?
So a lot of the molds fit like just usually one model.
Okay.
I think SPL has like their lower end SPL stuff is like can fit like 3 or 4 different molds because the plate is interchangeable. So you can fit like different molds into that. I think it's called like the Splash series. I really like his stuff. I like SPL. I miss shooting SPL stuff. But yeah, that's you know, for a cool $6,000, you can have the high end DSLR camera and the water housing and, you know, a fixed or zoom lens, and you're in business to sell your photos for a whopping $15 to $25. Get that return on your investment.
I say like my first 3 cars combined cost as much as that one of those cameras.
Oh my God.
No, but and we kind of veered off, but that's okay. But I wanted to go back to when you started first taking pictures in the water. I would imagine that there's like a learning curve to that, and that it probably helps to have a surfing background yourself. Do you surf, or did you surf then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been a lifelong surfer. My dad was a surfer.
Yeah.
My dad took me down to the beach when I was a little kid, and I started bodyboarding, and then 6th, 7th grade got into surfing, and then did the surf team. And
schools have surf teams in because I'm doing the show from Michigan, so we definitely don't have surf teams. But
yeah, like you know, at first it was like the high school surf team, and like you can do it if you're like a junior or senior, and then you got into the junior high school surf team, and they started making like, you know, now surf teams for grade school or like even like probably kindergarten and preschool. Like there's kids that are like 4 years old that like surf here. It's crazy. 4 years old, their dads are pushing them. Come on, you're gonna be a professional surfer.
I was gonna say, are any of them doing like cutbacks or anything? Or
there's kids here that are like 7 years that could do like frontside. 7 years old that can do frontside 360 years. It's like their dads are like, he's the next Kelly Slater. He's got like 10 sponsors. He's making like $100,000 a year.
That's
completely illegal, I'm sure. Let me turn off my stupid cell phone too. It's probably annoying, right?
I mean, I can deal with it, but yeah.
A podcast faux pas.
All right, no, but I think what I was getting around to asking, but badly, was what was it like in the water when you first started taking pictures in the water? Was there some learning curve to that, or because you understood like what the person you were taking pictures of was doing, was it kind of like, oh, I know kind of where to be?
Yeah, I think you're leading at like towards tips too. Like what, I mean, I guess, you know, number one is don't drown. Being a strong swimmer, you know, like
Yeah, do you use a flotation device, or are you just swimming or
Well, the
standing
what
in
the
shallow
what
areas?
I mean, the wetsuit carries some buoyancy in the wintertime, but
Yeah.
and the housing kind of floats itself, kind of half on and half under the water. So, oh my gosh, my daughter just interrupted our podcast. See, this is COVID podcasting. Go inside. Okay. Um,
How many kids do you have?
10. No, I have 2. With COVID, it feels like you have like 1,000. I swear, it's like a house full of kids. It is what it seems like, but you only have 2, and I feel
Yeah.
like
Well, and you've been doing,
even
because most of California, all of California has been on pretty strict lockdown. So you've been doing homeschool too, right?
oh gosh, it's like yeah, and I remember Fridays would come around and like you'd be like, oh, it's Friday, like let's go have some drinks, let's go out to the bar, let's go see some music. Like every parent on Friday was like, it's Friday. Now everyone's like, oh, it's Friday. I just want to go
Yeah.
to bed. I'm just tired. It's 7 p.m. I just want to go to sleep and watch my shows. Give me my candle and my warm bath and let's go to sleep. And some Epsom salts.
Yeah. Dude, oh man,
Bottle of wine or four.
my kids have been back in school for a little while now, but when they were at home, it was just it was the worst. And I used to teach even, but like there was a comedian Ryan Sickler who said that he thinks that, and he wasn't joking either, he was serious. He said all parents who have had to help their kids with online school should get a tax deduction for whatever school parapro gets paid.
Something like, or they should send us all to some chartered island for like 3 days to like rave, like Burning Man, but like just for parents or
Just for
something.
parents. Yeah.
Um,
Or have a
there
separate
has to be
island nearby
something.
where the kids can stay, and then we'll take a boat to the party island.
Yeah, something. There has to be something like that because I it's just been absolutely insane. Like, and it's just crazy because like the work thing at first is like, oh, it's fine, like, and I don't even know because I've been out of work. I literally just started a new job 2 weeks ago, and we could talk about that in a little bit. But
Yeah, mazel tov.
thank you. And I remember, but I remember past jobs like, oh, it's fine. Like, you got kids in the background, and now they're like, their kids are in the background. Like, well, not now, but because everyone I work with right now, my new job's incredibly cool and understanding. But like, I feel like that filter of like having to teach your kids at home has like the sympathy filter, like, oh, your kids at home, it's fine. Like that filter has gotten thinner and thinner where like people that don't have kids just expect you to be on point like 10, 12 hours a day, like and interrupted. Oh, you're homeschooling kids. How hard can it be? I got
Yeah.
3 dogs. You know how hard that is? Like,
I already kind of hated people without kids, but yeah,
yeah.
it's gone to a
Now
different level.
so,
Yeah.
but back. Okay, so yeah, so I think back to the
Yeah.
surfing and the
Yeah.
tips and
One thing I was getting at was like, have you ever taken a board to the face or like gotten caught on somebody's fins when you were like trying to get a grid shot and you were like, oh, you can't get that close.
I haven't, but there's definitely, just to speak to your question earlier, like there's definitely like things that you don't do if you're a surf photographer, and surf photographers get messed up. And I wouldn't even consider myself like a water photographer. That's like probably like what the real name or what we call each other. I wouldn't even put myself in that category because anything over like 6 or 8 feet foot face, I'm like terrified and kind of have been like, it's like you see people swimming out at Pipeline. I remember going at Pipeline the first time, and it was like a small day. Like it was like a small day. I mean, like probably like 8 to 10 foot faces, like 3 foot, 4 foot Hawaiian, and paddling out there and just being so insanely winded with like the rip and sucking you into the boil constantly and getting caught inside. And I was just like, and even like small days in Hawaii on the North Shore of Oahu, like at Off the Wall, which is like really close to the beach, but like a really shallow wave. And I just getting caught inside there. And, there's just it only takes a couple times swimming in the water, shooting photos to
Yeah.
kind of know where like your threshold is on what you're capable of doing, because your body will tell you. It'll like, you either pop a blood vessel in your chest and you'll
Oh my
come up
God.
coughing a little blood, and you're like,
Oh,
oh, I'm coughing up blood. That's probably not a good sign.
no shit.
Yeah, I got freaked out at blacks once. I swam like blacks when it was like probably like 15-foot faces, like big canyon sets coming in, and got caught inside and had to duck through like 3 solid like 15-foot faces. And on the third, I came up and I was just like stars and like getting ready to pass out. And I remember just like spitting into my hand because my mouth tasted like really warm and salty, and spitting in my hand, and there was like blood in my hand.
Oh,
And that happens when your lungs don't get enough oxygen, like blood vessels pop. And I guess it's not that big of a deal, but like it freaked me out. And then ever since then it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. And then from there, like it was just slowly, as I got older and took on a mortgage payment and had kids and other stresses, and started doing wine reviews and other things like that, you tend to, your threshold on how much you could take kind of, by the time you're like 45, you're committed to Sanonofre and 2-foot Doheny, so to speak. So, yeah, like, but so that's kind of like, the kids that are young and are swimming and done water polo, there's a lot of like water polo players or ex water polo players that did water polo in high school that do it, or wrestling.
I wouldn't have thought about that, but water polo, yeah, that seems like that would be great training.
Oh, it's like the perfect thing. It's like you got a ball in your hand the whole time and you're treading water with your feet. That's like probably the best training. Like if you're a psycho water polo player, like you probably crush it, like swimming big waves, but some of these guys are absolutely insane. Like some of these real water photographers will swim when it's like 30, 40 foot and like get caught in sign on like massive waves. There's a guy that body surfs Nazaré in Portugal when it's like 80 foot and is like just out there with a pair of swim fins. I forget his name, but he is an absolute psychopath.
Yeah, you would have to be. Ha-
Yeah.
Have you taken pictures of people on like insane waves, whether you were in the water, on the shore, or like on a boat or whatever? Like those, I'm thinking like those Laird Hamilton waves.
Yeah. Like I've shot Jaws or Piahi in Maui,
Mm.
and, but from like the cliff, and like I've shot Mavericks a couple times, and Todos Santos down in Mexico, which is like 40, 50 feet, but completely different shooting it from the water, like completely
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
different ball game.
When you're watching people that are surfing in those, just like you were saying, you'd have to be a psychopath to even get in the water. Um, do you ever get nervous watching people that are like taking on huge waves, like, or are you like, these guys are professionals, nothing to be worried about here?
So
Because
that's
you
a
get to
good
know a lot of the
question.
guys that you photograph too, so I would think that there's like at some point you're watching these guys going like, Jesus, dude, I hope you're going to be okay.
I've always, and this sounds funny, but it's like, it's almost watching like a spectator sport from like the top row, like when you're shooting it from the beach.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these big waves break out. Like the reason why they're so big is because they come from very dark, deep outer shelves or deep water, and they hit, they come from like a deep trench and they hit like a very shallow part of reef. And that's what makes them jack up so big. And a lot of those waves break far out, and so you're watching it from like a quarter mile away. You're watching it from a half mile away. So you're watching it from like what would be, it's like watching a concert from like, it's like watching a concert from like the nosebleeds, you're not that close to it when someone falls because they're so tiny. So
Yeah.
a lot different than shooting it from a ski where you're like on the wave with that person, kind of sharing that experience almost, photographing it from
And
like,
you've done that before?
I haven't.
I was
I
gonna
have
say
not.
that seems like logistically that would be, you'd almost have
It's
to like tether yourself to the guy who's driving it and then just hope that he's got a good grip.
yeah. I mean, it's probably warrants a discussion with like one of those guys within themselves, because there's so much prep. Like those guys are like the night before they know that they're going to go and photograph that, or the
Mm.
night before that a big wave surfer knows it's going to, like those guys are up all night checking the buoys and being like, oh, it's, it's 15 feet at 16 seconds. And like they're checking the buoys. And like the night before, I don't think anyone even gets any sleep because they're just so full of adrenaline that tomorrow could be like the biggest wave they ever ride in their life or photograph.
Yeah.
But I've never done it. I've never been like that close. I've been, I mean, shooting pipeline, big second reef pipeline, when it's really thick and nasty, you see someone falling and you're like, ooh, like I hope they're okay. And
There's not a lot of room to fall there, right?
there's not. It's incredibly shallow with a very sharp reef with
Yeah.
all kinds of curvatures to the bottom
I've cut
coral.
my feet on the reef in Waikiki Beach, and that was unpleasant with just, waves hitting you in the hips.
Yeah. The lava rocks is it's this stuff's sharp.
Yeah.
Lava's sharp, coral's sharp. It's
And
you
someone
can get
told
hurt.
me too that it's really gnarly. Like I got a gash just kind of like across my foot from one side to the other, and they're like, "Hey, you better get that looked at because if you break a piece of coral off in there, it can actually grow in your foot or something like that." But I don't know. It was probably somebody just trying to scare dumb Holly.
You can get staph. I mean, you can get staph. You can get infected. That's why you gotta scrub it, kook. There's the North Shore. That's what they say. There's Rick Kane pedals out a pipeline and hits the bottom and comes in, and the local girl runs to his side and is like, or he's in the shower and he's like bleeding, and he's like what? You hit the reef? I forget what they say, but there's a line in that movie. It's like, well, what are you doing? And the local kids are like, scrub it, kook. And then he finds the local girl, and the local girl puts aloe vera on his cut, and like they fall in love, and then he ends up winning the world title. It's all in a day's work. But North Shore, that's fantastic. Like that's a great. It's, I mean, outside some of the corniness, it's a brilliant movie.
Hmm.
The North Shore, Wahoo,
Yeah.
Rick Kane, Laird Hamilton, good stuff.
Man, speaking of, that's the second time now we've said Laird Hamilton. You're talking about, yeah, it's young guys can go out there and swim in the water. How is that guy still doing it? Because he's like almost 50 now, isn't he?
No, he has to be 50.
Yeah. He's not, I don't think he's human though.
He's definitely not human. He's definitely part robot or something. I mean, physically, mentally, and I guess you could say spiritually, he's just like next level. Like he's so smart, and he's such an incredible businessman too. Like he might get dogged a lot by like, surf social media and like funny guys and surfing and stuff. But the guy, he's the pinnacle.
Yeah.
He truly is. Like, I think we all just make fun of him because we're jealous. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be doing that when I'm his age.
Yeah. I'd like to just learn how to become like a good surfer on a regular board. But one of these days, if I can ever learn how to do that weird one that he has that like
Foil?
yeah.
He probably has something else. There's like probably like some 3.0 version of it now where he just can like hovercraft, or like he could probably just like meditate his own body now, like over the water. He's like figured out some yoga pose thing or something to do where he doesn't even need a board anymore. He just like kind of levitates and just like, I'm married. Like, yeah, the foil thing's crazy. You can get really hurt on those though.
I would imagine.
Someone could cut someone in half. Like you could split somebody in half going the right speed with one of those things. I really, truly feel like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I never really thought about it before, but yeah, if you caught somebody who was just swimming,
You're like, yeah, just cut that person, slice that person. Like people have gotten like hundreds of stitches, like massive staples from just falling on, I don't know what they call the bottom part, but like the wing, I don't even know what they call it. But the bottom metal wing part
yeah,
is, that thing catches you and you fall in that thing, like you're losing a limb. Like people have gotten like crazy injured. People almost, I know like so many people that have, every single person I know has had like a pretty significant injury already.
In the time that you've been, on the scene taking pictures, what's some of the worst injuries you've seen?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I've seen people die.
Oh,
Yeah.
people
Like
like multiple
I've
times.
seen, yeah. I mean, I mean, certain situations for certain things, sometimes it's
Yeah,
a swimmer that gets swept off the beach and they can't find him, he can't swim. And, um, other times it's, an injury, someone gets hit by their surfboard and gets knocked out underwater. And then other times it's, people drown because they don't have, like, it's incredible what the lifeguards are able to do and how many times lifeguards have been responsible for resuscitating
yeah.
what would be dead surfers had the lifeguards not been there to administer emergency CPR, like right there in the spot. Like it's incredible how many lifeguards have saved. Like it's astronomical when you start to think about it, especially on the North Shore of Hawaii. Like
Oh yeah.
there's just so much danger in the water all the time. Tourists getting swept off the beach, little kids getting swept off the beach. Like it's
Well,
insane. Like how many rescues, like the North Shore of Oahu in particular,
oh God, what's
creates. Like those guys are just absolute phenomenal watermen.
yeah? And I call myself a surf fan, but I can't think of the dude's name now. Oh God, I think they even did like a 30 for 30 on him on ESPN. The guy who was like the most famous lifeguard and surfer from Hawaii. Well, not the famous surfer from Hawaii, but and then he ended up dying when they were trying to take
Eddie
their.
Cow.
Yes.
They did a 30
Yeah,
on 30 in him, huh? Oh, that's cool. I haven't checked that out yet.
I thought they did, or maybe it wasn't a 30 for 30, but I saw something in him that I'm pretty sure was on ESPN, and it was really well
Hmm.
done.
Yeah,
But,
that's rad
but yeah,
and
they
deserving.
talked about like the number of people that he saved just in the like relatively short amount of time he was a lifeguard. He had saved like hundreds of people.
Yeah, oh, yeah, for sure. Like these guys rescue on a big swell on peak tourist season. These people rescue like hundreds of people a weekend.
Yeah. And
But
then, yeah, too, if you're like in Hawaii, you get anybody who thinks that they're a pretty good surfer tries to come out there. And like you were saying, like it's just a different atmosphere. I went to the North Shore. I went to Hawaii. God, I'm trying to think when it was. It was maybe like late summer. It was whenever the Jack Johnson festival was. I went to that very first one, and I just went up to the North Shore just to look at it. And somebody was like, "Yeah, it's there's nothing out there today." And I was looking at the waves. I was like, "Well, that's probably the biggest wave I've
that's
ever seen
something
from Michigan."
right there. That's something.
Yeah,
That's like that's the A grade caliber Michigan surf right there.
yeah. It was funny
Like
too how
it's rolling on the shore.
the thing that I thought was the funniest though was when you're in Waikiki, everybody smiles at you and is going like that. You get to the North Shore, and people just look at you like, "The fuck are you doing here?"
Yeah, I mean it's country. It's like I feel like they're trying to. I mean, they're somewhat losing the battle, trying to keep that side of the island somewhat country or somewhat sacred. And
Yeah,
it's like you have tour buses like pulling over on Cam Highway and stopping traffic, and someone's just trying to go to work, and like he's stuck behind the same bus every morning at 8:15 a.m. and he's got to wait for everyone to unload. Like imagine just your island, just your part side of the island or your neighborhood, someone comes driving down your street and
yeah,
just bombarding it with tourism 365 24/7. Like you would just be probably get bummed after a while if you grew up there. Like
yeah.
I kind of side with, it's good for the local economy, I guess, but I don't know. It's a kind of a bummer for the Hawaiians and kind of the pure Hawaiians, especially,
Well, yeah, because I've heard a lot of people say too that if you go to an authentic Hawaiian luau for a tourist thing, like there's very little authentic about it, and like it's just something for the tourists.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
which is
all,
unfortunate because yeah, you're like, I don't know, changing your own culture just for the sake of like making somebody who's there for a week feel like they had an experience.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
like
it's a weird
there's,
conversation to get into, but
yeah, yeah, I know. I feel like you talk to someone that lives there and is partial Hawaiian because there's not a ton of like pure Hawaiians left, but
mm,
someone that has Hawaiian blood or someone that grew up there, and I think they have like a way more educated response to that than I could give you as someone who just goes there and you know is there for a couple weeks potentially. I mean, my wife's parents have a house there in Makaha, and we've been going there for 20 years, and
oh, that's awesome.
always try to be respectful as possible. And I bring a board over there. I always leave it with some local kid when I do go over there.
Oh, cool.
If I do bring a board, I just leave it there. I don't even bring it back. Like just give it to someone in the community, you know, Makaha and Waianae and that side of the island, and try to be as respectful as possible. And I really, 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 really try to do as much as I can on the respect level because it's such an incredibly beautiful place that is just so bombarded with tourism
Yeah.
all the time that like whatever I can do. I mean, it was like when I went over there as a surf photographer, and I'm doing absolutely nothing like in the grand scheme of things. But when I went over there as a surf photographer, like I definitely, or even as a photo editor, when we did the Hawaii issue,
Mm,
like a Hawaiian or someone that grew up in Hawaii should be on the cover of that particular magazine, or it should feature X amount of local surfers involved because that's their time to shine on their island. I really try to be conscious of that just because it's their waves, and everyone else is just coming and taking, and you know they're going to get photo incentives and they're going to shoot their ad campaign there, and their company's going to shoot their ad campaign there, and and they're in and out, and that's it. So yeah, it's a tricky thing to navigate over there.
yeah.
Just trying to be as respectful as possible and do everything you can possibly do to give back to you know their their small surf economy.
Yeah, man. That just blows my mind, the idea of living. I mean, if you're from there, you wouldn't you wouldn't think anything else would probably do, but the idea that you could live on an island that's an 8 no, what is it? Like a 5-hour plane ride?
Yeah, from San Diego, it's 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah. Man, that would that would freak me out, I think. Cuz visiting there, you like not a big deal, but I don't know.
You mean just like
Just
island fever,
the
just being stuck there?
just the idea of like, oh, if I got to get out of here, that's going to be a big coordinated event.
I don't know. If I could, I mean, if I could live there, I would in a heartbeat. We're lucky enough that my wife's parents have a house there, and we're able to go over there a couple weeks out of the year. And I mean, the people, there's just no bullshit. There's no like of this, that just, I mean, even here in Encinitas, you get down to like Cardiff or like coastal Cardiff, and everyone's just got buku money. And it's like, where's your Patagonia jacket? Where's your Sprinter van? Where's your, and that's like the cliches, right? For all things like white yuppie. But, I mean, it's like, oh, well, you don't live in Cardiff. Oh, you live in Village Park. Like, like it's just there's none of that bullshit. There's just none of that materialistic BS in Hawaii. People look at you not because of like your paycheck or what you drive,
Yeah.
or it's just they look at you for like the type of person you are, and that you show respect and you're respectful and like you're a good person. And it's just cuts through all the BS. And that's what I absolutely love about everywhere outside of Southern California for that matter. I mean, does that exist? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's like people here are only
Yeah,
friends.
the grass is always greener.
Well, I just think people are always people. And Jonathan Wayne Freeman said something like this on his Instagram, like the other day, talking about how like people kind of flock to their own social circles, like as far as like economics and where they live, and they associate themselves with people that are in their own um you know type of currency and Like, oh, these people have money, so we should hang out with them because they have money. Like, never seen like a millionaire hang out with someone that like lives in like a condo apartment just because they're bros. Like, at least here,
Yeah.
it's just like everyone flocks to their own little thing, and it's just so much fucking bullshit. I'm sorry to cuss. Maybe I'm not supposed to cuss, but
No.
just a
It's fine. It's
ton of BS. So tired of the Southern California BS and the materialism. It's
yeah.
insane.
Well, that's just the way everything is made to be now. Because I mean, right now in West Michigan, where I live, the there's every week there's another article about how the housing prices are just so high that hardly anybody can afford to live here. And we're looking at the house that we bought 6 years ago is probably close to double the value now. And it's just like, the people that were moving into our neighborhood when we moved in were just, nurses and dorks with podcasts. But now it's like you have to have like two people with advanced degrees that are both working to afford to live here. And I don't know, it's kind of a bummer that it's become exclusive just to how much money you have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's like I was dropping my kid off at this. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that's just maybe the way society's turning or whatever. But like, I dropped my kid off like at school the other day, and I was walking back, and I think I had combed my hair for like the first time in a little bit, and like was wearing like a new jacket that my wife bought me for my birthday. And they're like, "Whoa, Pete!" Like, one of my neighbor friends saw me. He's like, "Oh, Pete, you really put yourself together this morning, huh?" And it was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't know. Like, yeah, man. Like, you put some effort into like your look this morning. I was like, uh, what's? I guess I just look like a homeless dirtbag the rest of the time or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
um, it's like,
I'm
oh,
going full blown dirtbag myself. Like I should just shave all this, and I normally do, but the past few weeks I've been like, who cares? I'm growing this huge mustache. I'm just
do
gonna let
it,
my bald spot shine. Yeah.
do it. I love it. But the Nintendo hat is pretty epic.
The Nintendo hat that I got from Walmart. the
That's insane. Is that your
the funny
podcast hat? Do you wear that every podcast?
the funny thing is I wear this just like pretty much any time I need a hat. It's been my go-to
Are you
hat,
a
and it's
big
actually starting to
are
fade
you a
away.
big Nintendo fan?
I am, and we actually have an old school Nintendo in see that bookcase door? Yeah.
Hmm.
I made a thing where actually you
That's
take that
insane.
you take that clock, you pull the bottom of it up, and it pulls a string through the other side that latches, and then you can open the bookcase.
No, that's insane. What are
That's where
your
I keep my
top
Nintendo.
five? What are your top five favorite original Nintendo games? Give them to me.
I don't know if anybody would say that this is their favorite, but it might be mine. Paperboy.
Okay. Yeah.
I really loved Paperboy for a long time. Me and my sister would just sit there and play that. Bubble Bobble.
Yeah. Okay. That's a classic. That Chen
Bubble
versus
Bobble
all
was
mediums. Yeah.
amazing. It was kind of dumb, but I liked Burger Time.
Burger Time. Okay. These are all kind
And
of within the same genre of Nintendo games.
yeah,
Too.
but then also Kung Fu
Yeah.
and or The Karate
Classic.
Kid.
Or the Karate Kid. Okay. Gosh. Can I tell you
Because
my
The
five?
Karate Kid had the one scene where you could try to use the chopsticks to catch a fly,
That's
and I could never do
right.
it.
That's right. That scene was so hard. Karate Kid was good. Karate Kid was
I
really hard.
never caught the fly.
Karate Kid was really hard.
Yeah. Kung Fu was easier because it was just punch and kick,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he either
It
went,
was.
yeah, or whoa, whoa.
Yeah. And that was like originally, I think Atari made that, but was that originally like an Atari game? That was definitely more of a arcade
It
game
might have
first.
been. It might have been.
That's
Because, yeah,
Atari. Like,
the
that's some,
graphics on the guy was like, he was basically just like a little kind of like light brown blob with a little dark tuft of hair.
yeah. And the guy was like, and fight. Like, and like, yeah. And then like the kick sounds were so killer. That would be, yeah, that was a good game. I like that game. And then she would decide like she'd look left or right, and there was the flowers, and she'd like pick.
Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot that part too.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
was always just thinking about like you had to jump over the knives when the guy would throw the knives at you or whatever it was.
Oh, I don't think I ever got that far. I always just played the arcade version against my cousin because they had it at their house, and we'd
Oh,
play it for
yeah,
hours.
the 1 versus 1, yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Oh,
I
wait, you
love
can't go wrong with some Celtics Lakers either.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that was good too. That's right.
Mhm.
Did you ever play Kid Icarus?
I never played that one. When you said it, it made me
Oh.
think of Mega Man, which was also good.
Oh my god, yeah, that would definitely Mega Man would have to be in my I mean,
Mega Man was
Zelda,
fantastic. I can't believe I didn't think of it sooner.
Mega Man, for sure top 5, Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Metroid, and I don't know, those 4 were, like, just the ones that had, like, the full story layout where you get to the next chapter, and then it's, like, anything where, like, if you beat a level, like, some dude came out or some girl came out and it, like, typed out, it's like, and it gave you, like, the next mission to do. But gosh, did you hear that the guy that made Nintendo that was doing the soundtracks recently, that Kanye called him up and wanted to do an album together with them? And the guy's like, "No, I'm good. I'm not doing it." He wanted to partner with, like, I forget his name. It was like Masuo.
Why wouldn't that dude partner with Kanye? That's $1,000,000
Yeah,
right
he
there.
wanted
Boom.
to do it. Like Kanye was like, "I need to do an album with this genius," because like just the scores and the soundtracks to all those games are absolutely brilliant, and they're all done by
Yeah.
like the same like 3 people.
Dude, I'm not even kidding you. Sometimes, like, if I'm doing something and I'm starting to, like, breathe kinda hard, in my mind, I start hearing do 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 from Punch Out when you're doing the workouts.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, Punch Out!
Diddlin,
That
diddlin, diddlin, diddlin.
that
Ding,
that yes. But all those, I mean, like the music was like half. I'll get bored and I'll YouTube sometimes after I've had like done like a wine review or two. Like I will get on YouTube and I'll just listen to like Zelda soundtracks and just like listen to like the score from Zelda or something. I'm just like, oh, that's and you know, it's no Iron Maiden soundtrack, but Nintendo
Yeah,
the YouTube soundtracks are good.
it's no Iron Maiden, that's right. I was what did I say? "Is that the album that has Run to the Hills?" And you're like, "They all sound the same."
They're all the same. It's the same like lead guitar riff. Like I thought I was so excited. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. I think I had like 2 glasses of wine and like I found like some weed left over, like in like one of my old socks or something, and like did like an apple rip of weed and like had 2 glasses of wine. I'm like, okay, I'm vibing now. Let's put on the YouTube soundtrack on Iron Maiden, and then like listen to the first like 2 minutes of like the first song, and then like I listened to the next like 30 seconds of the second song, and then I listened to the next like 5 seconds of the third song, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. This is Seven Sun for a Seventh Son. That album, whatever, Killers. Okay, you know, just it sounded like a good idea in theory, but it was not good. But I'm glad
I
we
love that.
shared the same sentiment on that. It's great.
Yeah, because well, for people that don't know, because they weren't listening to our private conversation, yeah, I worked with a guy that in Iraq would all he wanted to listen to was either Iron Maiden or Pantera or the Black Crowes. So it was an interesting mix of music, either listening to Walk or Hey, little mama, let me light your candle.
I'm trying to think of like the common bond between all of them, and all I can get is drugs. But I think I don't. What's the common through line between those 3 bands? Like,
Yeah, I think he was a guy that in his time grew up in where was he from? He was from Alabama, and he said he used to do a lot of acid. So yeah,
yeah, I think that's what the through line was acid. They all did acid.
yeah. Everything is amazing on acid, right? Yeah. Um. uh, I was just really excited when you said that you did an apple rip, because most people that I've talked to is like, you know, you can smoke out of an apple. They're like, a what?
Yeah, anything in orange. like a tangerine. I've been so desperate before. Like and I'm not a stoner. I never smoke weed. Like weed makes me crazy paranoid.
Oh, really?
Oh, like
That's a bummer.
terrifying. I've had full blown freakouts over weed where I've called 911 and then hung up and been like, nah, that's not a good idea. You're gonna be all right. I've had friends rush me to like the ER for them having a heart attack. I'm serious. I totally have. What else have I had? The best experience was like 18 months ago. No, not 18 months ago. What am I talking about? So Grayson, my younger son, was 6 months, and my daughter was like 4. And at that time, I think I was smoking like once a week or something, like every once in a while. And it was like the biggest dare. I'm like, oh my God, I took a rip of weed. Like it was like really exciting stuff. And my wife was going out for the night, and both my kids, I just put them asleep. Like both the kids are down, had a glass of wine, found some like leftover. It's always like leftover. Like I like stumble upon it. And it's like I like stumble upon like weed
I
and weird
forgot I
spots
put
in
this
my
in my
house.
breast pocket.
No, I stumble upon it in weird spots in my house, and it seriously speaks to me. It's like, you must smoke me now. It's like if I see it and I run into it, like it's being smoked. And then it will go away for like 9 months, and then I'll never see it again. But if I find it in my house, I'm gonna smoke it. But I would never smoke it more than like once a month or like every 2 months. So, okay. Sorry, we're having fun. Okay. It's my wife yelling at me. We could go through all the COVID things here in the Terrace household. That's what happens all day. Is just people just yell at each other during COVID. You're talking too loud. You're screaming. Sorry, I got really excited about talking about weed before I just got yelled at, which you cannot edit. You got to keep that in because this is my life.
This is
24/7.
this is real.
This is real shit. This is what happens. This is you talk too loud, you get yelled at, and that's okay. You become immune to it eventually. It's like I need like I need the like getting yelled at vaccine, like COVID vaccine from like my wife.
Well, hold on a second. Have you ever tried, because this is what I tried doing one time, and it really threw my wife for a loop the first time I did it. Get really emotional. Like, I don't feel like I did anything to deserve this. Why are you treating me like this? And they'll be, wait, huh?
You're dead right with that, but you can only use it so much, or else it
that's true.
Its potency.
Yeah,
you're only allowed to cry like once a year, so you have to like really have like you got to really put that in your back pocket. But
yeah.
Okay, so really quick, back to the weed thing. So,
Sorry.
where was I? So I had just put my kids to sleep, and can you hear me? Okay, by the way, are we good? So we're still good. Okay.
No, perfect. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I had just put my both kids down. I had like found it. I had like found the weed. I was like, oh, cool. So like I found like a tangerine or something. And I shoved it in there, and I took like way too big of a rip, like way too big. And I was like, oh my god. So then I started thinking, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. And then I'm like, no, I'm good. And then I started watching some Beatles documentary. I started to freak out, and like the room, everything in the room felt like it was like a mile away. Like I'm like, oh, and everything felt like it was just moving in slow motion. Like I went to go like stand up and like walk to the kitchen, and it felt like it'd take me like 5 minutes to get to the kitchen. I was like, oh my god. So I called my wife, who was out with her friends. I said, you need to come home. Both kids are asleep. If they wake up, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. I am freaking out. I am way too high. I'm like, you need to come home. And she's like, I'm not coming home. You got to deal with it. And I calmed myself down. I did some like Wim Hof, like breathing techniques.
Yeah.
And like some push-ups and got myself out of it. But yeah, weed's a crazy thing. It affects people differently.
Yeah, and it sounds like you find some really good stuff.
No, I just think I'm like a crazy lightweight, and I just think, I don't know, I just think way too much about everything. I'm like an overthinker, so
Yeah.
I think I just freaked
Well,
myself out.
I think creative people can do that to themselves. Overthink, let their imaginations run wild, all that.
Yeah, what was it say? We were talking when I first met you, we had that discussion and you were saying something about creatives that they're their own worst enemy, or they run themselves, or what was it? What did you say?
Oh, I don't know, but that sounds like something I would say. I definitely get in my own way or sabotage myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was something towards like that when it comes to promoting themselves, like a lot of
Mm,
people struggle with that.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten pretty shameless.
Why not? That's what I'm saying.
You know, and the funny thing is in that Discord channel, speaking of smoking weed, I smoked a little weed and then I popped open the Signal Discord channel and I had said like, "Hey, I'm gonna post my um, last episode because the dude that I interviewed also collaborated on Signal," and somebody said, "I don't think it's appropriate to post that in here," and I was like, "Oh man, well, fuck you guys." But then like I sent him a DM and I was like, "Hey man, sorry, I didn't mean to piss you off," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" And then I went and reread it again. It's like, I do think it's appropriate. And I was like, oh shit, sorry. I was high.
Yeah. There you go.
Good thing I sent him a DM and been like, instead of being like guns blazing, man, fuck all you guys.
Yeah.
Anybody
Well,
from the Discord channel, hello, by the way.
yeah. What's the inner workings of Discord?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Luckily he was really cool about it. I was like, yeah, sorry. I was high and I misread that. And he was like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez. Weeds.
So yeah, apparently when you smoke too much, you get really anxious, if not paranoid, and I just become illiterate.
Yeah. It's like dyslexic. Start reading stuff backwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The weeds.
Um I
I'm
wanted to
trying to
ask you
think of
one
that.
thing though before we get too far off and end up just losing track of it altogether. You said that you're a photographer and a cinematographer. Is this correct?
Mm, I
Because
think
ultimately what I want to know is like what makes a cinematographer different from like a video director or
so. I don't think I'm definitely not a cinematographer or a videographer or a filmer. I do it, but then again, I've kind of done like I guess I started to alert to earlier. I've kind of done everything out of necessity,
mm-hmm.
whether it's to try to like pay some rent or like to keep my mind off something else. Like,
Yeah.
I think photography or like a photographer is probably like the truest like creative trait that I have. In like, I wouldn't call myself a cinematographer, but I went into my craft when I started to take it seriously, knowing that I wanted to be a photo editor. Like in the 90s, I wanted to be a photo editor. In the 2000s, I wanted to be,
Well, why a photo editor?
because I always wanted to craft a brand. Like, I think, it wasn't until recently that I figured out that I was more passionate about the marketing and creative marketing. Like, that's why I love, when you had James Toll, is that his name? From
Jeff Hull?
Nonchalance? Jeff Toll. Jeff
Jeff
Hull.
Hull.
James
Yeah, yeah.
Toll. Jethro Toll. When you had Jethro
Well,
Toll on, no.
we'll edit it out to make it sound like you got it right the first time.
Oh my, yeah. No, it's fine. But like, I mean, I would say he's like a I mean, he's just a creative. Like, he's just brilliant. But like, I always cared a lot about like just full packages, like storytelling and making a full magazine in like
Oh yeah,
the
dude.
A to Z
Speaking of
of it.
storytelling, the stellar storytellers that you turned me on to on Instagram was amazing, by the way. Thanks for that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll come around to it. I just wanted to tell
But
you
yeah,
that because I
yeah,
thought
thanks.
of it just now when
Yeah,
you were talking about storytelling.
those
Sorry.
guys are incredible. Yeah. But I always just like, I think like I like early on it was like Um, I just wanted to make magazines, I think, because I wanted to make a magazine. And also I wasn't like the biggest fan of traveling. I went through like a crazy like phobia of like, I just never wanted to travel much. I don't know. Like I would travel to like normal places, but like I wasn't
I
gonna
was gonna
ever
say that
travel to
seems
like
problematic for
Siberia.
somebody in your work.
Totally. So that's if you're a photo editor, you didn't have to do much of that, right?
Ah, okay.
I went through like crazy phobias. I've had like weird spouts of stuff, fear of airplanes and
Do
elevators
you
at certain times. Like it was bizarre. Like
do you have a lot of those, or do you just kind of like have like one and then you trade it off for another and then you trade that off for another?
now I don't really have any because I've worked my way through it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what it was. I had like crazy phobias as kids. I was like terrified to go into theater. Like
Hmm.
I could not go into theater to like save my life. I thought like the doors were going to close behind me and get shut. And I was get locked in and the place was going to burn down. Or I don't know. I just always had like crazy bouts of phobias until like my mid 20s. It was like, and by then, as things started to like dissipate and I started to work through the stuff, by then, like I was already like crafted in a career of photo editing.
Hmm.
Maybe even lasted in my 30s, I would say, like some of those things. But they're like, hey, Pete, we're going to send you to West Africa to film surfing on the Nile River. And I'd be like, absolutely. Oh, no, you're not. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I'll go to Hawaii. I'll go to Australia. I'll go to New Zealand. But all this like crazy foreign travel to like crazy places, like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. Now I'm like, I've worked my way through it and I'm excited to go check out everything I possibly can. But at the
Yeah.
time, I've just always like my dad's the same way. My dad's mom was the same way. Just like not to turn this into a therapy session, but I do believe I think therapy is incredible, by the way, and would love to talk about that in some extent because I think every person should see a therapist.
I was actually just a guest on a podcast earlier today, and we talked about that. Yeah, I started seeing one not that long ago, mostly just for like work related anxiety because for the last few years I had been a stay at home dad, and then I started writing. Then I started getting paid for some of my writing, and then I started the podcast, and then the podcast actually started getting people that wanted to be on it, and people started listening, and that all of it just kind of slowly started building, and it just got to the point where I was like, I was still doing all the work, but I was just like not in a good headspace to do it, and it was like it wasn't fun. It felt like
Yeah,
I'm gonna drop something. Something's gonna fall if I don't keep everything going at the right time and
right.
pushing all of it
And
hard.
yeah, exactly. And like, why wouldn't you proactively like put your being or put your mental state and pitch it to someone that is like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's kind of what's happening. What do you think? And have someone kind of giving it back to you and going, here's what I'm seeing kind of, or here's what I think of
Yeah,
that. Like, man, I've relied on therapy for like, I mean, ever since I was like 11 or 12 or like this scared of being in a theater, like, I just think it's such a smart and healthy thing to do is to
yeah,
proactively get in front of those things. So you can be the best person you can be,
yeah.
but yeah,
Yes, that they're the thing they say on that podcast I was on a lot is sick people don't go to therapy, healthy people go to therapy.
yeah, totally. Absolutely. But it's like like you tell someone, oh, what, you're going to see a therapist? And everyone's like, oh, you must be crazy. You must be nuts. And maybe I am nuts.
Well,
And nor do
there's
I care,
there's
but
there's almost as much a stigma for therapy as there is for smoking weed. Like if well, I don't know how it is in Southern California. People are maybe a little bit more cool than they are in the in the Midwest suburbs. But like, if somebody is like, "You smoke weed," like it'd be like I don't want my kids to play with your kids kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and it's almost the same thing. Like people are like, "Oh, you see a therapist? Are you okay? Did uh, I don't know if I want my kids to be around you." You know?
totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're in such the infancy on like mental therapy and mental health. Like we are such in the infant stage of all of it.
Yeah,
Everything from like even trying to go like, if you're on Medi-Cal or like I'm still on unemployment almost as of like last week. And like, my whole family is actually on Medi-Cal because of, the lack of money we're currently making. try to go see a therapist that takes Medi-Cal.
Right.
That basically means like, government funded health insurance. Good luck. Like, not at all. Like, every therapist is almost out of pocket. Like, having good mental healthcare, like healthcare for like, insurance for mental health is like a joke. It's impossible. Like, it take you like 6 months to try to find somebody. There's 2 people in all of San Diego County that accept Medi-Cal health insurance. 2 therapists in all of San Diego County that take Medi-Cal health insurance in the whole county. 2.
And then you probably have to schedule for like 4 months out.
They're actually like pretty open, which is surprising me. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I just tried to see one of them, so we'll see how that goes. But,
well, oh shoot,
I forget what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, me too. But that's okay. No, but that's okay because, like I said, this isn't live. No matter how bad Bill O'Reilly wants it to be.
Oh yeah,
that was great too, man. I totally forgot about that. Do it fucking live.
We're doing it live. Gosh, what were we saying?
I had just texted you like, "Don't worry, man, it's not going to be live," and then you're like, "It's." Oh wait, no, before.
I don't care. Do it all. I just can't wait to have my wife come barging in on the door. You're being too loud. That's gonna be the best part. That's the most real thing in this whole podcast right here is just trying to work from home and that whole thing. But we covered that base already.
The name of this podcast is going to be Ep.19, pissing off Peter Terrace's wife.
That's what you should call it. Meet Pete Terrace and his wife. No, she's great. I love her to death.
Yeah, well, that's good because you guys have 2 kids together. So
yeah, we're not going anywhere.
For people that don't know, we're talking through an app called Squadcast, and you can pick your name to display on there. Did you pick that, or was that on there?
DJ Mama's Kitties. No, I typed that out. That's me.
Okay. I didn't know if that was like a.
No, I used to DJ, and that used to be my DJ name was Mama's Kitties.
Is there a good story behind it or not really?
I'm trying to think. I think, well, my wife used to have a cat named Pippin, and every time my wife greeted that cat, she would always say, "Oh, come here, Mama's Kitties." And so I just started saying Mama's Kitties, and then it just became DJ Mama's Kitties. And that was like I was exiting out of my DJ career when I met my wife, but I really wanted to be a DJ.
Yeah?
Really bad. Like a techno DJ, house DJ, yeah. Yeah, for real. Like really tried, like really hard. And I played like, I think like 5 live shows, like ever. And the last show, I remember I was playing like some like French electro. And this was like right before like Justice got big. And like I was playing like a bar in San Clemente. I was playing like all this like French electro stuff and like Justice and Mastercraft and like all these, even like earlier, like John Digweed, Deep House Records and Sasha and Danny Tenaglia. And people were just looking at me going, why is this guy playing? Like, where's the hip hop? Like, I want to just roll up on some girl and just start freaking some girl. Or like the guys were like, dude, where's the freaking hip hop, dude? I'm trying to, and like, I was just like taking it like I was in Ibiza, I think. And I remember I just had so many complaints that night that like I stopped the turntable like mid record and packed up my stuff and left. Yeah. And people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just done. I'm done DJing. That's it. I quit. It was like super dramatic and like one of my more dramatic like public freakouts, I think.
Huh.
And so that was it. That was my DJ career in a nutshell. But I would love to revisit it.
I had a concert when I was in a band in high school that went pretty badly, and we ended up having to leave mid-set too because our rhythm guitar, we were like not metal but like kind of like harder rock, and our rhythm guitar player was a black dude, and he was like, hey, I met this girl who said she wants my band to come play at her birthday party. And we're like, oh sweet. So we get there and we show up, and it was an audience of all black people except for the one girl that invited us to play was white, and they did not want to hear hard rock music. They only wanted to hear hip hop too. So they booed us,
Some
and then they
punk?
started throwing stuff at us, and they just yelled, "You suck," until we started taking our stuff down and going away.
Oh man, that's a bummer to hear. Yeah, I thought that was going to turn that story around.
Then we really reached through to them. No, we
Yeah.
didn't.
Oh,
We
that's a
had
bummer.
stuff thrown at us and told we suck, and it was an interesting experience for I don't even know if we were old enough to drive. I think we had to stay there and wait for our moms to pick us up.
Oh my God, that sucks. That's like the teenage years. That's what you do. It's
Yeah,
just you go through those high highs and those low lows, I guess.
yeah. But besides that, I'd played plenty of shows where like nobody cared. You know what I mean? Or there were very few people there. But that was the only time where I was like,
It
"F
only
this."
takes that one show, though. It only takes that one show, though. You know,
Yeah,
it only takes that one show,
yeah,
um, Chris, to you're gonna have to do a reunion tour with those guys, and just that one show that goes really well. That's all you need in your
yep.
memory Rolodex, and then you'll be set for life. I remember having like a couple shows actually that I played, some house parties that were just people loved it, and people said, this the music's amazing, and this is great. And it only takes, and I can remember those like nights like crystal clear. Like I remember like every record I played. I just remember the house, what the room looked like. I remember like they're always like someone's, like the parents were out of town, someone's living room.
Yeah.
And like we would put like the two couches together because everyone always had like two couches. Like one was on like this wall. It was always like a 90-degree angle where like two couches, like, and we would smash them together
Like
and
my
put
setup.
them
Yeah.
vertical. We
Yeah.
would smash the couches together and we put them vertical so that like the insides were together. And we
Hmm.
called it the freak chamber. So you would go in there with like your significant other and like make out with them, like in the little couch chamber thing.
How
I don't know. High
elegant and
school.
romantic.
Yeah, in front of like 60 of your closest like sophomore high school friends.
uh,
Yeah. Oh,
High
the
school is the
back
worst.
in the
I would just
day. Back in the day. What's the worst? Oh, high school is the best. High school is the best.
It was, but it also wasn't. Like, I don't know. I've heard people say, if I could go back to high school knowing what I know now, I would be like the coolest dude. And I was like,
But that's
yeah,
that.
but just the fact that you said that, no, you're not.
That's 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 the special sauce that everyone's trying to figure out. It's like, God, if I could have my brain now. It's something you say like when you're like 25.
Yeah.
After 25, you're like, dude, I just want to go to sleep. You don't want to go back to high school at all.
No.
You just want to be retired. But when you're 25, like you have those like mid 20s, like, oh man, if I could go back to my senior year now, knowing what I know, and you're like 25 and you still don't know shit.
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
I knew what I knew now, it's like it's been like 3 months and like you've traveled like to like 2 destinations and you discovered you've ventured to your first like pub bar and like went to some rave and raved till like 4 a.m. and thought you saw God, and all of a sudden you're the most knowledgeable 19-year-old on your block. If I could go back to high school now. Yeah.
I used to have nightmares for like years after I graduated high school that I was back and I was like, oh no, I have to do it all again because something went wrong and like none of my time counted. Oh,
Oh my gosh.
the worst. You know what though?
I think I
That's
got straight F's through all high school anyway, so I could do it all over again.
Hey, at least you were consistent. I was all over the place. I actually went in for when I was in the military, the first place that I got stationed, the guy that was, running the whole thing there calls me into his office, sits down, looks at my high school transcript, and he goes, "Oh, looks like you got the whole alphabet in there."
Oh my gosh, that's funny. That's hilarious, actually.
It's like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I got an A and PE.
The funny thing is I was the kind of kid that like I went to school just to talk to my friends and to see if I could get a girl to go out with me. And if I thought a teacher was really cool, I was like, okay, I'll try in this class a little bit. And if I didn't like the teacher, I was just like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not here for you, buddy. And I would let him know, like, I'm not here. Don't even call on me.
Yeah, that's it's crazy how that works. Like I was the same exact way. And even my daughter last year in school just did awful. And I think the teacher tried. It was her last year. She was retiring, whatever. Maybe she was
Yeah.
mailing it in. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But last year she did awful. She was like the worst kid in her class
Aw.
because they just weren't connecting. And my daughter's in second, and this is first grade. And my daughter is like pretty sensitive to things. And I mean, everyone thinks their kid's just the smartest, greatest,
Yeah.
best,
Right.
whatever, right? But like she was really struggling last year, and it's just they didn't have a connection. And this year, my daughter's just full of spark. She loves her teacher, and she's just like, and now she's crushing it. She's like
Awesome.
excelling, insane. Like she's gone from like worst. I don't know if she's first or whatever, but she's doing incredible. So it's
Mhm.
crazy how that works.
Yeah,
How
for sure.
receptive our mind is. We turn off and we turn on to certain things at certain times.
Well, there's a lot to be said for there you go. For
Yeah,
what your mind, you know, sorry, I got distracted by that. Not mind over matter, but what's the word I'm looking for there? Just like, I guess when you set your own expectation for something like that, immediately will become like your reality. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna hate this class, like,
you're gonna hate it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking there, but I actually wanted to segue from me talking about having nightmares about having to go back and regraduate high school to dreams that I used to have, because my wife was saying earlier, she's like, "Who are you interviewing again?" And I was like, "Oh, the surf photographer guy." She's like, "Oh yeah, why are you interviewing
Oh,
him?"
brother,
And I was just like, she didn't mean like, "Why would you interview him?" But she was just like, "Oh, why did you reach out to him?" And I was
why
like,
that?
because this guy took pictures that I used to literally dream about. Um, like
That's
I
so
remember
cool.
the
That's awesome.
first yeah, the first
I
surf
love
magazine that I ever bought was when I just moved to Florida, and it was that the holiday issue, the photo issue.
Yeah, the photo issue. Dion Aegis, Transworld cover.
Oh,
Dave Nelson or Tom Carey shot that. I forget which one, but yeah,
and
I
just
know
I
the
got
shot.
that, and then from that point on, I just grabbed every magazine. I was like, oh, I don't have that one yet, and I would just grab, and I would look at the pictures, and then at night, I kid you not, I never dreamed that I was surfing on the waves. I just always dreamed that I was walking up to the beach, and just all of a sudden, I just saw these perfect waves. There was nobody out in the water, and I was like, yay, and getting ready to run out in the water, and then I'd always wake up right there before I actually was in the water.
Do you, just really quick because I want to hear about your dreams. Do you remember photos from that magazine at all? Was it like I know you remember the cover, but like, gosh, I had that magazine. It's up in my attic here. But if I go up there and I grab it, my wife's
What were
gonna kill
the
me.
Oh god, yeah. No, there was a couple in there that I remember that were of God, what's the guy's name? Was it Bruce Irons?
Okay, yeah, I think there was like a black and white Scala shot of Bruce shot from the beach with people in the foreground,
Yeah.
black and white. Brian Bielman, I think, shot it. It's people standing on the beach, like they were like it was probably like 50 U's trying to get out in your dream, and then they just hadn't woken up yet.
Yeah. No, but I would always just,
Magazine.
and every night, like, it was the same dream. It was just a white sandy beach, and then just this wave that would start as far out as I could see and then just kept going all the way down. You know what I mean? Just
That's so cool. That's so cool that you had dreams about that magazine. That's just awesome. I wonder if people still dream like that. I wonder if like the digital currency has like I don't know, like is it not as is it not ingrained in is Instagram not ingrained in your memory as like those spreads of those magazines?
yeah, probably not. There's a couple of things that I've tagged, or not tagged, but like saved to a list that from Instagram. But most of the things that I remember from Instagram are like really funny things, not necessarily things that are like like inspirational. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's true. I bet you like kids that are like millennials or whether they're just like probably think about like swipe lefts and swipe rights and like
Yeah, everything is so
getting out of
immediate. Like,
stories. It's
show me
like
something new
it's just
right
like
now, and if it's not new, then get it out of here and give me something that is new. Whereas, yeah, those a magazine. I mean, As long as there's the picture on this side's not that great, rip that out, put that up next to my bed, or put that up, um, depending where we were, next to my cot, wherever, inside my locker, pull it open and be like, and it was just like a breath of fresh air to see those pictures when you're somewhere where you can't do anything fun, but you just go, oh God, that's going to be great someday when I get back in the water.
Yeah, I think, and that was such like a creative period in surf photography in general. Like, and everything prior to that had like excellence too. But like, I would say like the mid 2000s, like right when the digital cameras started to come into fold, but also mixing it with like the medium format cameras and the black and white film and the the panoramic cameras, even medium format, large format cameras, and print film and digital film. Like that was such like an insanely creative time for surf photography. Like it was such a pure, tangible. There was such like a life and like a depth to every photograph in that print medium. I think it really like ingrained in people's memories, like the photo annuals and everything. There was just so many insane photographers because the surf industry was cranking and everyone was making money and people could be surf photographers and have a supportive career doing it. And you had all these icons and legends that have been shooting surf photos for 30, 40 years with crazy history. And you're pairing that with like new technological advances with like the digital camera. And it was just a really exciting time. And, I think the 90s had periods of that, and definitely the 80s, the 70s, and 60s, like absolutely 60s, 70s, 80s were like insane creativity with surf photography in those periods. And then, the 90s had some golden moments too. And I think the 2000s were like insane too. The mid 2000s were incredible.
Well, there was a lot of just creativity in surfing then too. Like, I mean, trying to think when it was that Kelly Slater was like went on a tear, started originally winning world championships. But like when he won his first world championship, people weren't like launching themselves off the wave like they do now.
I mean, definitely that early 90s was like a period of like, aerial surfing was coming to the fold, Christian Fletcher and, and all the Fletcher films. And then soon after that, Momentum and Taylor Steele movies. Like surf films really kind of like launched the next level of it. Went from like the 80s and power surfing and Martin Potter and all like the very powerful 80s surfers and Hawaiian power surfers and Sonny Garcia and just that whole cast of power surfing, Aki, Tom Curran, and then into like the 90s started coming around. The Fletcher films were kind of this like gateway, and I really think they were kind of the gateway between power surfing and Hawaiian power surfing to kind of that next evolution of like, oh, Christian Fletcher is like doing 6 different types of grabs at lower trestles, and oh, why is he grabbing between his legs like that? That's a stale fish. And his bringing his skate knowledge to the water and doing skate moves on the wave was like, and those were being showcased front and center in
Yeah,
such
that's what I mean. Like,
as like Supernatural and Wave Warriors 3, and
yeah, that's when you
then
started to
Taylor
see like
Steele came out.
more of that skater kind of style coming out.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Momentum came out. Momentum 2 came out, and Kelly Slater, the backside air from Cabo San Lucas, and Kelly Slater's part in those early Taylor Steele films was, you're just like, oh my God, okay. This is next level now, just with the consistency and his style and his fluidity on how he was linking stuff up. That's really when you saw like a lot of, the creativity in surfing was, 92 was kind of like when you started seeing, I feel like, I don't know if it was that specific year, but early 90s is like when you started to see that. And then by like mid 90s and late 90s, it was like, you had the whole generation, Kelly's generation and Shane Dorian and Kelly Slater.
Yeah.
You had even the younger generation, or the slightly younger Timmy Curran and their video parts for Taylor Steele's movies. And you're like, oh, look at this alley-oop. Like Timmy Curran's alley-oops were just absolutely phenomenal in those Taylor Steele movies. But now we're still there. Like, no, now guys are doing like 540s, but like, I think the biggest, you know, not to segue just into pure surfing in general or move away from surf photography, but,
Mm.
um, you know, surfing's now, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's like come full circle, but it kind of has, it's coming full circle in the sense that like people just having fun and not caring how much someone rips, literally.
Yeah, like that movie you sent me.
It's becoming, yeah, like the movie I sent you, like that is almost becoming like, you know, more fun. Like people are having fun going out surfing straight in front of their house with three of their friends on soft tops
Hmm.
with no fins of the boards, or riding, you know, just having fun, dicking around with their friends. Opposed to like, we're going to go down in trestles and see how much we're going to rip lower trestles today, which is
Yeah.
like the epicenter
Well,
of like high performance surfing in Southern California.
we were talking about that on the phone, right? Like, I think I was talking about an old, well, not old, but surf film that I saw that had Donovan Frankenreiter and a couple other guys, and they'd picked up like some single fin, really shitty surfboard from like a garage sale, and they're like, "Hey, let's see if any of us can do anything on this." And like that was like 10 minutes of the movie was these guys just like trying to control this really terrible board.
I think that's either Shelter, which is a little Malloy Brothers film, or that's, gosh, I should just know this. Why do I not know this?
I
It's the
remember
other
that the
one,
box
Thicker
for
Than
it was
Water,
like clear. You could see through it ish, kind of.
a green board, single fin.
Yeah.
I think that's Shelter. And yeah, that's like the Malloy brothers have always like, and Chris Malloy in particular, because he's kind of the director, producer, visionary of
Yeah.
like, I mean, there's Dan Malloy who's ex-pro surfer, and they're all three of those brothers are Keith, Chris, and Dan Malloy are all brilliant in their own ways. And you know, Keith Malloy has the torpedo people and everything he's doing, and you know, Chris Malloy being who I think made Shelter or Thicker Than Water, but him being kind of cinematic visionary. Like I remember with him, and this is like this is how far ahead of the curve he was. Is that was assigned to go shoot Chris Malloy back. I think this was like 97. I think I was 18 at the time. I mean, he must have been like 25 or something. And I had to shoot a profile of him. So I shot the portraits of him, which was kind of like my background, you know, as a portrait photographer, or that was kind of like what I was getting paid to do, was to shoot portraits of people. And so I shot the portraits, and then I also had to shoot surf photos. I'm like, oh man, we got to get like really good ripping surfing of you. Like, we got to show you how much you rip, Chris. Like, we got to show how much like you shred. And then he's like, yeah, let's go shoot some surf photos. And he's like, meet me here. And I met him at the beach. And I'm like, oh man, it's not that good. Like, it was pretty crummy. I'm like, you're not gonna be able to do an air out there. I need to get like a shot of you doing an air. Like, I need to get a shot of you showing how much you rip. And this is just like me naive, like just this is how like thick my skull was back then. It was just like, oh my God, I gotta portray him as like one of the world's best surfers. Like, I gotta show that he can still do airs, and that like, and not still, he was like in his prime then, like that he rips. Like that was like my center visual experience with me shooting a photograph of him, is that I felt conveyed. I needed to convey in him that like he ripped.
Mm.
And like I could have been farther from the truth where like his mindset was. And so we showed up at the beach parking lot, and he's looking at the waves, and it was like 2 foot coming. He's like, let's go shoot some photos of me body surfing. I'm like, what? And he's like, I got like this belly board. Like, let's shoot some photos of me like riding this like wooden belly board. And like I'll do some like stuff on, and I'm just like, no. I'm like, no, like, because that's not like performance. Like that's not
You're like,
that's
that's not
not
going to
gonna,
get
the
people stoked.
audience, that's not gonna get people stoked. People aren't gonna like that. Like, and I don't know why. It was like a weird, I still think about that moment to this day, because I felt like he appreciated some of my creativity up until that moment where I said no. And was like,
Right.
and I think he just was like aghast that like I didn't get it. Like I didn't get his whole deal. Like I was trying to make him something. Like I in my own insane ego, I thought that I needed to convey this certain visual look, aesthetic for him.
Yeah.
And it was just the stupidest moment of like, I look back on it and just being like, I don't even know. And I still have like brain gaps. Like I still have like brain farts like that with certain things where I look back at moments. I'm like, oh, like, why wasn't I more open-minded? Like, what a stupid, dumb decision. Like I should have conveyed, if that's what he wanted to do and that's how he wanted to be conveyed, why didn't I just do that?
Yeah.
Because
But
I was scared because
that's
the
like we
time,
talked about, like, you know, if you only could have known then what you know now.
well, I think the magazines back then too were like very performance based and like I
Kind of
remember Jamie
kind of push
Chris,
that mentality of like, we've got to show people kicking ass.
we got yeah, and like that was me working for Surfing Magazine at the time, and there was Surfer Magazine and there's Surfing, and Surfing Magazine at that time was very performance based, like where Surfer was more travel based, more art based potentially. Surfing Magazine was very performance based, and me being a minion of Surfing Magazine at that time, I felt like I needed to like help control that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I remember Jamie Brissick worked there at Surfing Magazine. He eventually quit, but like he would try to showcase stuff to me all the time where it's like, this is this, you should shoot this art, you should do this, you should do that. And like so slow to the game. Like it took me like 9 months for even Jamie's vision to resonate with me.
Yeah.
And by then he had already left the building. He's like, nah, I'm more artsy than this. I'm more open-minded than this,
Yeah.
than this building and what direction this is going. At least he didn't say that, but he was just on a whole different trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess you learn from your mistakes and you grow with them. And with art in general, like you should never try to put anything, I feel like, in a box.
Yeah.
I still do it to this day. I still think like, oh, there's, these are the parameters. This is only how far you can take it. And like I do these stupid wine reviews on my Instagram where like I do these silly TikTok dances at the beginning of them to every wine review. And I just do stuff like that because, and like whatever, 50 people watch it. And I do it for myself just because it's like, what else is another silly way to open up a wine review? Okay, let's like do some silly dance. Like wine's associated with this, like, you gotta be this, you gotta be this. And like, I don't know. I just want to be disruptive in all art now because
Yeah.
I want to push everything as much as I can.
Yeah.
Even my silly Instagram wine review, which
And do the things that you want to do, like we talked about with this podcast. You're like, I was trying to, what did you say? You were like, I was trying to kind of figure out what the commonalities are from guest to guest, but it just kind of seems like you have whoever on.
yeah, I was like trying to stitch it together. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that was much to my producer's chagrin, I have to say too. He was like, I told him my idea for the show. It was like, I'm going to talk to creative people. He's like, what kind of creative people? I was like, whatever. He's like, no, like you're a writer. You're going to talk to writers? I'm like, well, yeah, writers and like musicians and, whoever. He's like, nobody's going to listen to this. It has to be more dialed into a specific focused crowd. And, I think I probably would have got more listeners faster if I was like, welcome to the Writer's Corner. But, slowly people are finding it. And, from episode to episode, it just kind of keeps carrying over. And for the most part, it just keeps getting a little bit bigger. So it took a year to get it to a point where like I could get any on, but yeah.
You get some. I'm honored, man. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you are here too, because like I said, you're the only guest whose work has actually inspired dreams for me.
That's insane.
Which
that's incredible.
And there's something too about.
I'm gonna have to dig that magazine out that you said that. Like I have to find those magazines.
I bet I might still have them somewhere too in a footlocker in that room that I got behind my trapdoor. But I don't know what it is about photography. I've taken good pictures before, and it's almost like a surprise when I take one and it turns out really well. You know what I mean? And it just seems like that it's a skill that you can't teach somebody. Like I could teach somebody how to be a better writer. Somebody who's a good painter could teach somebody to paint better. But I don't know that you could just teach somebody to have an eye for photography. Like, oh, I should shoot that, but I should shoot it from here, from this angle, try to get this light. Like I see something, I'm like, oh, that would be a cool picture. And then I snap a picture. I'm like, oh, well, that sucked.
Mm.
I don't know.
I
I can't get myself into the headspace of like, all right, let's think about this thing for what it is and what's the best way to represent it. I just point and click, and sometimes it's good. Most of the time it's not.
that's the best way to represent it part that you said is interesting because I feel like there's kind of two things happening. There's like to me there's like almost like two mediums within photography. And I think one of them is the actual capturing like a pure moment
Yeah.
where this is a moment frozen in time, like this incredible moment happened at a flash of a button. And I
Yes.
don't want to
Like
say two.
family
These are
pictures. I love family pictures where people are looking at each other and genuinely smiling. I can't stand it when you get a picture where somebody goes, "Hey, everybody smile." Like I just throw those away.
yeah, totally. Right. So, yeah, and I think that's what I'm alluding to is I feel like and this is just two of them. There's probably more, but just off the fly, the two things that I think about when I think about photography is one capturing that super candid moment that's forever frozen in time. That's like this is like a pure joyous moment or potentially a tragedy that's happened and it's never going to be able to happen again and it's saved forever in this either slide or digital format or whatever. And so there's kind of that one, there's that one aesthetic. And then I think the other aesthetic is telling an experience. And magazines kind of did the both. They kind of captured a moment in time, but they also told experiences. And I think from Transworld, back even the Transworld days, which is that photo issue that you referenced,
Yeah.
back in, I think that was 2004
Yep.
or something, 2005.
2004 would have been right on.
Yeah, 2004. So I think those magazines were made up of a lot of experiences. And
Mm.
experience are like are cultivations of photos put together to tell like a very meaningful story through a visual experience.
Mm.
And with we're slowly like that experience of like trying to tell experience is getting harder with like Instagram and attention spans, shrinking
Yeah,
and
'cause
a
any
flipping.
story has to be 15 seconds or less, and
Yeah, every story has to be 15 seconds or less. And I had this I talked to Chris Picard. I don't know if you know who Chris Picard is, but he's a surf photographer, and he's probably the most like well-known surf photographer in our space. He's got like millions and millions of photographer like followers on Instagram and
hmm.
like the face of Apple. Like you go to apple.com and you type in apple.com and like the new MacBook and it's like a photo of like his face holding the MacBook. Like
Mhm.
he's just a massive rock star now. And he's also a former intern of mine who slept on my couch for about 6 months. He's an upstart. And he's
Hopefully you were nice to him then.
yeah, we still talk weekly. Like we
Oh,
went
cool.
through a period where like, the whole he was just very smart. Like he understood how to market himself
Mm.
brilliantly from the get-go, even as a young kid. And I gave him grief for marketing himself because I thought I was just trying to be punk or keep it real. And boy, am I an idiot for trying to crush his dreams because it's obviously worked out really well for him. But
Yeah.
anyways, besides here or there,
Hey, man, you're a punk rocker. What can you say?
I kept it real, dude. I got 4,000 followers on Instagram. He's got 4.5 million, but I kept it real. No, just kidding. Just stupid. Like he's brilliant by no means. And we get along great now. And, but what I wanted to say is that I had this conversation with him last week and we talked about, it's funny. Like, I bet you like he probably hadn't thought about this in a while, but there was a period of time where you shot photos based on layout and shot photos based on how they were going to look in a print medium and where the gutter was going to land and where like the photo would be centered and where your eye would draw attention to within the frame of like a print double page print magazine or if you're shooting for a cover shot and you shot photos based on like okay, I think this is going to be the spread, like I think this is going to be the 2-page spread photo, I think this one's going to be the full page, these are going to be the insert images. And you shot photography based on trying to capture a full experience in a print medium. And That was probably Chris's, like, Chris shot like that. Like, he shot going, I'm going to shoot this photo because it's going to be this photo on this page. And I did the same thing. And a lot of people kind of in my generation shot from that because they had a lot of creative control on how the photography was going to look in the print medium. And over time, as we switched to websites and singular images and eventually social media, where it became one image, kind of that second bucket that I talked about being the full experience kind of got lost in translation. Like, it just became, like, it became discombobulated. Like, things didn't make sense anymore. There was no start and stop to, like, the start of a story.
Yeah.
And that kind of got lost, and that is lost until, and, I started seeing Stellar, which is like the new company that I started to work for a couple weeks ago. And I had actually seen the application like a year ago. One of my friend photographers, Kevin Voigtland, had shared it on, because you could download it. Like, you can create your story or your experience there. You could download it and you could post it on Instagram stories. And he had posted something like a year ago, and I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, it has a full start and stop. It's a mix of like photos and videos together. It was like a full Instagram story experience, but in this like other medium. And that's kind of what Stellar, who I'm currently working for now, is kind of that, like, they're trying to like reestablish like the art of storytelling through a visual experience with like a very core like community of, like, they're trying to throw a little baby wrench into Instagram's algorithm, so to speak. And obviously Instagram is just massive, but like, it's a really cool experience. And like, it's an awesome creative experience for people that want to create photographs based on like a full A to Z experience, which is like how I shot photos. Like, if I was on assignment for Surfing Magazine, I need to go to San Francisco and shoot an event. Like, I shoot everything from like the food that I ate there to like the after party at 3 a.m. to the surfing itself. And I don't know. My current passion right now is just to try to kind of re-energize that through our world, because, that's just kind of being lost. Like, it just sucks. It's like the digital currency of social media right now is like confined to these likes and impression goals and,
Dude, I just
reach and retention. And
I just did Pit
it's just
Mad
BS.
yesterday on Twitter, which have you ever heard?
Mag?
Yeah, Pit Mad. Have you ever heard of that?
Pit. I never have heard of that.
Yeah, Pit Mad. It's a thing they do on Twitter 4 times a year, and you're supposed to like format a pitch for your manuscript, unpublished manuscript, a certain way, put it on Twitter, and then try to get people to retweet it. And the more it gets retweeted, then agents will start looking and then maybe want to take a look at your book. So I did this thing all day yesterday.
How many? What's the pitch? Like, how many words? This is so fascinating. I love the word world.
Yeah,
because I'm so shitty at it, and it's so fascinating to me.
it's Twitter, so
Like,
it's what is it, 180 characters?
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm so intrigued by this.
But you've got to put like the top line has to be 2 comparisons. So I put Red Dawn with time travel meets Stand By Me, and then my 100 characters, then my 4 hashtags afterwards, and then all day long I'm just sitting there watching it, going oh, I got retweeted. Who did that? I should retweet theirs. There you go. I'll go out retweet a couple other people's. Maybe they'll retweet mine, and then you're just sitting there all day, just going like, did somebody click it? Oh, now I'll click it. Did somebody else click it? Oh, now I'll click it. And by the end of it, I just wanted to break my computer in half.
You're just like, it's like,
Living for that moment to moment. Oh, another like, another retweet. Oh, who cares?
Yeah, I think that's like, I'm trying to be more. It sucks. Like, I feel like people aren't going to realize that they don't need to be. There has to be some, like, the digital currency of like Instagram. Okay, cool. You have 1 million followers. You have 3 million followers. You created this like singular moment that's beautiful. You know, you created like a couple behind the scenes on Instagram stories that are just like, but like at some point, like if it's that meaningful and it's that incredible, like don't you want to like book that? Don't you want to keep that in some format that's like, I mean, we used to do issue, like when we saw that print media was dying at Surfing Magazine and we hated like the format of the website and not being able to celebrate the A to Z. We moved to like issue, which is like a magazine, like a digital magazine publication, just to showcase everything else because we wanted that photography to be celebrated. And you could say like, oh, Instagram stories, like, but just what Instagram has become is not the creative medium that photographers, cinematographers, journalists should be using as they're chasing impressions and retention and views and clicks and shares. And it's not the pure place to like long term like bookmark or even like bookcase a series of like experiences. And I do think like, you know, Stellar is this scrappy little app and, you know, has a beautiful like community where everyone shares each other's stuff and clicks on it. And like, they're all creatives. Like everyone that there is either a photographer, a cinematographer, a journalist, a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And like, everyone's just there for the pure art side of it to see like someone's really intimate creative experience. And I don't know, like long story short, like I just think it's a great application. And I don't know. I just I treat Instagram like it's just this like after hours like sloppy place that like I do my wine reviews at because I love wine and it's not serious at all. And it's like just my throw up social app, you know? Like it's me being me in my sloppiest environment creatively.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like Instagram for the Stellar Stories pieces, for John's videos. That dude's hilarious.
Yeah, John's good.
For
He
artists
has a
that
lot
I
of leverage,
follow,
a lot of haters too. People love him or hate him.
well, if you get as many views as he does, you're definitely going to get people that will yell out of the crowd, "Fuck this guy."
Let's do the guy's like the guy. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think there's a stigma that comes with being a parent, and John has like 2 kids, and like you got to act this way, and you got to be this. Like, I mean, John's got 2 boys that are, I think, the same age as my boy and girl, 4 and 7. And it's like I love John for that. That he just doesn't give a shit. Like he's bread and
His
butter is
video
like
where he's telling his kids about, you want to be a surfer so you can be svelte and pick up the trim at the beach. And they're like, "What's trim? We'll talk about that when you're older."
yeah, like he's just like people don't understand like the irony in that like he's or he just like the satire, not the irony, but like it's just the satire in his whole spiel and his whole stick.
Yeah.
Like he's laughing. He's like and I hate the word influencer, but like he's a full like mid-40s influencer who's been able to quit his day job as an ambulance driver in Long Beach because he's making silly videos. Like that's hilarious. He went from like like a very extreme serious job to like a very silly light fun job. And like how can you hate on that? If you hate on that, you're just a hater. Like I mean
Right.
And he does not. I mean, it's just like I'll like repost his stuff sometimes on my Instagram and just as like story, and people are like, dude, why are you sharing that guy's stuff? That guy's a kook. Why? What do you mean? Why is it? Because he talks about himself? Why? Like, who cares? Whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Even going back to like something like what Jonathan Wayne Freeman does, or what goes on with like the Signal podcast. It's this whole idea of like somebody bearing all in a creative way, whether it's like very like serious and spiritual, or whether it's just being funny and trying to make you giggle. Some people just can't handle that kind of like honest expression. You know what I mean? Like they're just uncomfortable with it, or they're mistrustful of it. One or the other, or both.
Yeah. I mean, there's kind of a fine line between talking with your audience and talking at your audience, I feel like. And I feel like there's a fine line also between standing on top of the pedestal and then talking over your crowd rather than talking on the same ground as them and talking to them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the dilemma, right? Is like everyone has an opinion, everyone has a take. And just in particular, John, like I almost feel like he does it because Instagram has provided him the resource to talk about himself all day, any day, as much as he wants. And it's like people don't see the satire in that, like, and people get like pissed, like people get generally mad. And um it's, I don't
I'm
know.
just
It's
trying to
like, hey,
imagine how
this,
anybody could not see that guy and just go, ha, that guy's all right.
no, people are like mad that he has an opinion. And it's like, just another guy with an opinion. Why does everyone have to have an opinion? Like,
Uh,
don't talk to me like that, bro. Like, don't come at me like that. Like, and that's part of the thing, you know, like even journalism, and like it's so tough. There's just so many things to weave. And even myself, like I catch myself even in these like silly wine reviews that I do where I'm just like starting to hate on people. Like I'll get like angsty and be like mad at like the surf industry and being like, because I'm not in the surf industry anymore.
yeah.
And I'll catch myself like ragging on the surf industry. Like, I was a surf photographer for 20 years, dude. Freaking respect me or whatever. And it's just like ridiculous where I catch myself and I need to take a breath and just be like, who cares? Like, does anyone care about like, no one cares about my opinion on the surf industry. Like
I'm sure that there's a lot of people that do. I would hope that people that are listening to this show, for example, you know, are interested in all the behind the scenes goings on of how things roll.
well, I think that's different. Like me telling it how it is and
Versus when you're
behind the
doing a
scenes.
wine review, yeah.
Well, I think the difference is between me telling behind the scenes the truth of things, which I really haven't done much of, versus like me trying to put my opinion or my voice on a social topic or a current event is like two different things.
Yeah.
Like one's truthful and one's totally like one's a truth opinion. Like this is how the surf industry, these are the things that are wrong with the surf industry, or these are the problems within the surf industry. These are the things that the surf industry is facing right now from like an economic standpoint or a marketing standpoint or a socio standpoint. Like those things are like very black and white. Whereas my opinion on why Gabriel Medina isn't the best surfer in the world is full opinion. So there's two different things there, and they're totally like worlds apart. But you know, back to John's stick, that's his opinion, you know, like whatever.
How did you end up meeting him? Because the video that you sent me of him getting killed on the beach, it said that you filmed and you wrote that too.
Yeah. Um, so the way I started hooking up with John is, this is really funny. I was up late one night. I was sleeping on the couch again. Just really quick, like I want to make like I sleep on the couch quite a bit actually, and I want to make like a card for my couch, like happy anniversary. It's been like 7 years. That's so bad. Whatever. Anyways, so where was I going? Okay, John Wayne Freeman. How did I meet? So I was up late one night on the couch, probably after a wine review, and I was searching like random hashtags. Like I was really bored. This is really deep. I had already watched like an hour and a half of YouTube. Like I'd probably gone through
One of
like
those, yeah.
I'd probably listen to like 10 Ariel Pink songs and like a whole bunch of like Nicki Minaj songs or something. And like, I don't know, probably like had done like the whole gamut on YouTube for like an hour and a half. So I was like getting down to like serious boredom. And so I started searching probably random hashtags. And I think I searched the hashtag Talega. Talega, for anyone that doesn't live in the greater Southern California or the greater San Clemente region, is an inland not new now, but new at the time in the late 90s district of San Clemente. That's like the inland new district of San Clemente where every house is like looks exactly the same. It's like white stucco, Adobe looking, like just tract homes for miles. And so there's kind of like a stigma with Talega that it's like new money, baby boomers, day traders. And so I was searching that tag just because I don't know why. I was just some angsty, stupid moment. Probably I was probably looking for some like hashtag because I was gonna like get my troll on and like tap off on like somewhat random human at 1:30 in the morning on a Wednesday night. Like Like why? I don't know. Like that's an insane extreme boredom.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. Like who does that? And I'm not a troll by any means. Like I do not know this. This is just a freak occurrence. So, anyways, I was searching the tag. I was searching the tag Talega, and John's social profile came up. What? Like, what's this like random like 35-year-old dude tagging Talega? I clicked on the video, and it was John's video, and he had like a 60-second rant about how much he hated Talega. I was like, what? You hate Talega? Like, I don't even know. I don't even hate Talega. I haven't even lived in San Clemente for 20 years. I need to talk to my therapist about this, right? So, I clicked on the video, and then I DM like, fuck yeah. Fuck that place, man. And he had gotten back to me like a week later. He's like, Pete Terrace, like you're that surf photographer. Like my wife knows you. Allegedly, I'd like gone out to the bar with his wife like a handful of times. And I think I was saying this is like 15. That sounds really weird, but I think what happened is
Yeah,
I
especially the
like
language. I allegedly went out with his wife.
allegedly, but no, I had gone to the beach bar with his wife a couple times because she had a bunch of friends and I was single at the time, and I think I had a crush on one of her friends.
Mm.
And I don't think that worked out because she like denied it or whatever.
Because it's not your
But
wife.
so no, it's not my wife. Obviously, didn't work out. Desperado. No.
Why don't you go?
And it's like, yeah. So I'm like, well, I work at Surfer Magazine. Like, we should do something together. And he's like, yeah, man. I'm like, really? Like, I'm like, yeah. So he came in the office, and my boss at the time, Micah Abrams, is like, you guys just got to do a show. And like, we had just met each other for like 15 minutes, and we're kind of looking across the table, like, do a show. And then he's like, yeah, you guys just got to just do a show. Just my boss is like, just do something fucking fun. Just do something funny.
Yeah.
Just go out and make something funny. And like, I was heading all of Surfers Digital at that time and kind of imagining their social and all their integrated project with like sponsors and things with money attached to it. And so they kind of took that off my plate, and they're like, you just need to go make some funny Surfer stuff. Like Surfer has a very serious tone to it right now. Like we need to lighten it up and like make some funny stuff. And so we started Ultra Core Surf Hour, which is like a series of 6 episodes. And we did 6 episodes together, and I wrote all of it. I directed it. I wrote the screenplay. I wrote the lines for it, and sometimes filmed it. And it was just kind of like a shit show of like funny stuff of like 2 strangers that didn't know each other kind of getting together. And like the shows are like very like truthful. Like there's stuff in there like where you could tell he's getting upset with me. And then we went on to do like Surf Jeopardy together, and like we did a Surf Jeopardy show during COVID, which actually was really fun, and people loved it. And we gave away like cash, like we gave away brand new surfboards and stuff. People loved it.
That's awesome.
And then we created season 2, which I wrote out 5 episodes for, and we actually made 2 episodes, which have not aired to this day.
I got to ask you, did you do much writing before, or were you just like, oh, I'll figure it out?
I wouldn't say this is writing, that like when I wrote it, like.
Well, I mean, you sat down with a pen or a computer and were like, what will he say? I'll have him say this or have him do that.
Yeah. I hammered out like.
That's still writing. I mean, just because you don't consider yourself a writer.
3 pages of, I hammered out like 3 pages of like a screenplay, or like 6 pages of a screenplay for it. I don't know. Like John says this is what the shot scene is. This is how the shot looks. This is how the shot's set up. This is what he's going to say here. Here's camera A. Here's camera B. Here's the B-roll that we need to get. Here's the music. Like, yeah, I did all that like on the fly. I never had 0 experience with it, but I Googled it.
Yeah.
Figured it out. And like we did 6 episodes like that. And then we created like 2 episodes for season 2, which have never aired. And I have one of them in rough that like I want to put out maybe on Kook of the Day.
Yeah.
But it's kind of surfers material, and I don't know. So it's kind of like a weird gray area. We'll see. And then the second episode we created, I lost like somewhere. It's like, that sounds so messed up, but it's really funny. Like the first episode is so you know the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
I don't think I've seen it. No.
Oh, come on.
Sorry.
Yeah, just no. Her, like Joaquin Phoenix dates a computer. He starts dating a computer app. No, never.
No, but I like the sound of it. That just sounds like a comedy, though.
It's made by Spike Jones.
Oh, well, I should watch that.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. It's so depressing and so good. It's like right up there with like Internal Sunshine for a Spotless Mind, and
Oh,
uh,
that movie had one of the. I mean, that movie couldn't have ended any other way. But when the first time I saw that movie and it ended, I was just like, for real?
yeah, yeah. I remember me and my best friend were going through like these massive breakups right when that happened, like our first loves.
Ooh, that's
I
not the movie you want to see.
oh, just like totally rattled. Like
Oh.
went back to my house and listened to Conor Oberst and Bright Eyes for about like 2 weeks straight. Yeah, that's not a movie if you're just going through a bad breakup you want to watch. But her,
Yeah, if you're listening to a lot of Elliott Smith,
oh
don't
my
watch that
gosh,
movie.
yeah, just put it on XO or Elliott Smith. The day after Elliott Smith committed suicide, I went to Sound Studio in LA, where the memorial and where the album cover of Figure Eight is shot, and went there and wrote my name on his wall. I was that, and then I proceeded to drive from his little service spot to the Canadian border and back because I was that freaked out. It was that influential in my life.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a big thing. But
Yeah,
super
super talented
talented.
dude. Very
Yeah,
unfortunate then.
awful ending. But where are we going? Okay, before that, yeah. So we mimicked the movie Her,
Yeah.
where John falls in love with Surfline, which is a surf application that tells you how good the waves are going to be, and he starts to date her, and we did the whole thing, and I think it's hilarious, and everyone at Surfer thought it was horrible, which makes it even more funny. It's like 20 minutes long of John Wayne Freeman dating a Surfline app. It's hilarious. I think it's funny, but
I would watch that
and
in a heartbeat.
the second episode is, remember when they created the Tesla car,
I mean, I
Tesla
wasn't there,
truck,
but yeah.
the Tesla truck,
Oh, yeah.
and Elon Musk throws like a rock and it actually broke the shield.
And it broke the window.
So we created the mid-length like Tesla surfboard and created like a 15-minute episode behind that, which never aired, and it's pretty funny. I don't know. Maybe it's not as funny as the second, but I lost that episode. I don't know where it is, but
It's somewhere next to some random
it's
weed.
yeah, exactly. We'll find it. But I think that's what, and this comes like full circle to what we were talking about like an hour ago. It's like I think that's where surfing like has the most to gain is getting back to why we did it in the first place. And
Yeah.
the sport aspect of surfing to me is like, as I get older, and I don't know, it just becomes more silly, and like, it hasn't progressed. Like surfing hasn't progressed that much, and like in the grand scheme of things, it really hasn't progressed that much since like 92. Like people are still doing the same moves as they were in those, to reference you, those 1992 Kelly Slater when he first won, or Kelly Slater's first world title, or those 92 surf movies, or what was happening at that turn of the century between the 80s and 90s. Like not much has changed. It's like new people doing
No.
like kind of the same moves, just faster and more quicker, and maybe they're cramming move into one wave. Like it's at a faster pace, but like, I don't know. I think people are just slowly getting burnt out on it. And the World Surf Tour is like, it sucks. They've been dealt like a major issue with COVID. Like you can't do a world tour with COVID.
I'm curious if you think that part of like surfing just kind of getting stuck had anything to do with like it seemed like surfing had like a huge mainstream thing like around the time that like what was it Blue
Yep.
Crush came out. Jack Johnson started getting real
Mhm.
popular, and then all of a sudden like it was like fashionable again to like get into surfing, or at least like wear surfer clothes even if you weren't a surfer, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like I don't know how many people in Michigan wear Billabong shirts and O'Neill shirts and like they've never even seen a surfboard. Um so I don't know, do you think that this like Kelly Slater's video game and all the music and all the movies, like, just kind of got things stuck? Like, people were like, oh, I like this, so let's not change it.
I don't know. Like, I don't know why it's like the stock market, it's like, why do things become hot and then they're not, like why?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it's as easy as saying, oh, there's this run with Jack Johnson and Blue Crush and all these other major films and these celebrities learning how to surf and the economy and surfing being cool. Like, that's all going to come. It just comes in waves. It's going to happen again.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. Exactly. Like, this spring, you're going to see an influx of Hawaiian shirts like you've never seen. Like, guaranteed. Like, every surf manufacturer and every like small surf brand is making Hawaiian shirts and planning for Hawaiian shirts to be this massive spring summer trend.
We're just talking about like the normal button-up shirts with the flowers on them, right?
You watch. Like, this stuff's already like forecasted like 6 months in advance. Like, every surf brand will have a printed Hawaiian shirt this summer.
My dad is actually going to be ahead of the curve on fashion for the first time in decades.
It is. It's crazy. I'm like, what? Like, I mean, that's what's going to be selling. And it's the bucket hats, now it's like the round brim bucket hats with like the floral print on it. Like, all this stuff comes in like crazy waves. Who takes the lion's share of that within our industry though, and how that operates? I don't have enough business experience to like know like how, like I said, whoever's doing the best paid marketing, whoever has the best SEO, who's ever ranked the highest on Google on first page surfs. I don't know.
Yeah.
This stuff comes in waves, and surf culture comes in wave. I mean, you see Quavo and like the Migos like wearing Hawaiian shirts like a couple months ago. Now everyone in the world is like hopping on that train.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff is like, it's weird. Fashion's a weird thing, and surf fashion's a weird thing. And what makes it hot at certain times and what makes it not hot at certain things, it's like, I don't know. You'd have to talk like to like a marketing director, like a surf brand or something.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the Instagram. Whoever the hottest surfer is, whatever they tell people to go buy and wear, or whatever.
It's an interesting case study though. It's like, I don't know how much push and pull they do have, because like a lot of professional surfers are losing their jobs to like other people that are more influential. Performance marketing, and I forget the term of it, but they call it like computer learnings or whatever it is like, you take someone who's really funny like John Wayne Freeman that people like and adore because he's himself and he's selling Pit Viper sunglasses. You put a professional surfer that's on tour with those Pit Viper sunglasses, you give them the same messaging, and you go out there and you do a paid Facebook ad with both of them. Who sells more glasses? Like, John probably sells more glasses because he's authentic.
Yeah.
And people realize that like he just likes the glasses, and he came on board as an ambassador of the brand because he thought it was funny and liked it and liked the product. Like, what moves product right now is like authenticity and like real personalities. Like, paying someone because they surf really good doesn't move product.
Yeah.
It's like, kids see right through that. Like, kids might appreciate their surfing and going like, oh, this guy rips. I don't want to name any names because that sucks. But like, this person rips and this person surfs good, but they're not moving product. They're not moving soft goods. They're not moving sunglasses or sandals or whatever the product within our industry is. Like, unless they're like John Florence moves product guaranteed. But I think businesses are slowly changing their model of thinking, because all that stuff you can A/B test. And I do think, I mean, the A/B testing side of things and the digital performance marketing sides of things is kind of in its infancy, in where brands are just going to start giving tracking links to a whole bunch of different influencers, athletes, a ton of people. And they're just going to get a percentage on the sale. And whoever sells the most based on that tracking link, that's who they're going to keep around. And they're going to test.
So their brand ambassadors are basically just commissioned salespeople.
Yeah. And I think what they'll do is like, they'll just start doing smaller contracts and go like, okay, we got this team. Let's give them all this tracking link to this product. And then let's test these 20 other people that we found off this third party app, such as Grin, which is an influencer app. Let's figure out who moves the product. That's who you pay. Whoever's moving the product, that's who you pay. You don't need these pro surfers. If this funny guy or this silly guy in Encinitas, California, that's doing wine reviews and doing TikTok dances to him, moves product for
Yeah.
you. Who knows?
Yeah. Huh.
But that's kind of the way the world's going, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, at least there's a few people out there that kind of have a handle on it, because I don't know not only what is going to happen, but I'm not sure what's happening now most of the time.
Yeah, I think Jeff Bezos has a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's right.
He's okay. Him and Elon Musk are like in a war to be king of Mars
Yeah, I
right
think
now,
so.
right?
Amazon's a trippy one.
In what way?
I think we're in a very and I don't know. I'm so new at this. Like, I've literally been doing like business for like 9 months now, 12 months, and I'm like so beyond green. So by no means am I some like day marketer or some like business guru that went to school. I didn't even graduate high school, but I do. Yeah,
Oh, right on.
I barely graduated high school. Actually, that's not true. But I never went to college. But like, I do think it's interesting that like there's so many kids out there that are like latching on to like the drop shipping, and Amazon's tough with that. But like, kids are like, oh, fuck it. Like, I'll make a t-shirt. I'll make a coffee mug. I'll make like my own sandals. I'll just like, oh, you mean I could just like, I can create these, I can buy these here in the United States, or I could buy them in China or whatever. And then I could sell them on my own Shopify store, or I could sell them on my own Amazon store.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? And I think,
Yeah.
there's those platforms out there where kids are just going like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to create my own company. I'm going to create my own seltzer company. I'm going to create my own beer company. Like, why am I going to give this money to someone else? Like, I'm just going to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's like an upward trend of young entrepreneurs like creating their own businesses and day trading. And like, there's so many surf photographers now that I know that are just like incredible in like day trading stocks and stuff. And you're like, I can't even like put butter on my toast. How you guys like, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. The internet's cool. I should get better at using it.
Yeah.
For all those things. I need to get better at social media. I need to get better at marketing, like myself marketing the show.
Yeah, like this stuff comes, I don't know who installed it. Like, I don't know who put the hardware into like the generation of like that's like 23 and under, 25 and under. But like all this stuff comes second nature to them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta have stocks. I gotta have a stock portfolio, like GameStop. Like, I gotta have these stocks. Like, I'm day trading, using third party apps and selling and buying. Like, this is how they're thinking. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, everyone has a stock portfolio. They're drop shipping a couple products on Shopify in the meantime. Like, they're just cruising, and they just got all these little hustles. Like, for us, it was like delivering pizzas and getting like a $4 pizza tip, delivering pizzas like down the street, or like waiting tables. And these kids are like creating their own Amazon shops and day trading, and it's absolutely insane.
One of the highest paid YouTubers is like 9.
That too. Is it Jack? Is that the kid?
I was thinking of Ryan, the kid that does the toy reviews.
My God.
And he's got the not Walmart. Yeah, Walmart. I think he's got a line of toys at Walmart or something like that too.
Fuck that kid.
Well, I'm not too worried about that kid, but like, it just seems weird that like a child would have hundreds of hours of video of him on the internet, and that's okay. But like, child work laws on a movie set, like if you had applied that to that kid's house and how often he's allowed to film.
Ooh, that's a good point. You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
My son has watched like 1,000 hours of the Axel show or Blippi.
And Blippi, yeah. And you never see the same video twice. And there's always like every day, it's like, here's 5 more new ones.
Yeah, like Blippi has like 40 million views or something this year.
Yeah.
Alone already, like 40 million. And Axel's another one. And I like the Axel show because the dad's just kind of cool and kind of normal, and Blippi's kind of a weirdo. Blippi, do you know Blippi? You know Blippi, right?
Yep, my youngest used to love him. about a year or
Dude,
two ago.
so Blippi, we got into Blippi when Penelope was young. Blippi had like I swear I'm not a troller, but so the guy's real name, I forget his name. He had like his personal Instagram, and like his personal Instagram was just all these like raving photos. He's just like glow sticks, just raving like crazy. But it turns out that he pooped. He pooped on one of his friends' face for money like 10 years ago. It just came out. And he's like in super big trouble. But yeah, he like crapped on
Man,
his face.
it is not worth becoming that famous. I mean, I'm not saying that I've ever pooped on somebody's face, but like somebody will find something of you
Yeah.
doing something stupid, doing something wrong, just being a fuck up at some point in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's worth having that much of your life under a microscope to be like
It's insane. So yeah,
dozens of millions of followers, and no.
they found a video of him pooping on some dude's face. But
There's actually a video of it?
yeah,
Oh god.
there's a video of him like poop on some dude's face, I guess.
Yikes.
It was on TMZ or something like that. But the YouTube thing is like a whole nother like strategy that millennials are working with is, like, oh, the pre-roll, I'm gonna sell the pre-roll, and then but I think those days are kind of short-lived just because the vlog is like it's so beyond oversaturated and everyone in the world wants to do it. But it's crazy. Like there's one channel that my kid watches that is just trucks, just like normal trucks, like on a dirt lot. The guy filmed it with like an iPhone 3 or 4, like a 20-year-old, like the first original iPhone. And it's just like some toy truck just playing in dirt. And the thing has like 50 million views. So if the YouTube pre-roll monetization on 50 million views is like, for a million views, I think it's like, for a million views, it would be like $1,000, I think. So 50 million would be like, what, 50 grand or something like that? $5,000? 50 or 5, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
no, 50. That sounds
50. So it's like
50,000, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, a million views only pays like $800 or something like that.
Does it really?
Yeah, for the pre-roll, yeah. I think it pays. Depending on how many ads, if you do the double ad or if you do the 15-second ad or the 30-second ad, like it's different monetization. Like we did it at Surfer. It was stupid. We should have never left Vimeo. It's like dumb. Just because the monetization and YouTube pins you into like using music that you don't want to use. So like then you make a contract with like music agencies, and then you're stuck using a music agency, which you're paying for, all because so you can get this pre-approved music on YouTube, so you can grow your YouTube subscriber base, so you can get more views organically per video. I guess it is, but like I don't know. I think it's just so beyond. I think YouTube is so oversaturated.
Yeah.
And with vlogs, but there's these niches where it's like, dude, like we fall asleep every night to meditation music on YouTube.
Yeah.
And those like meditation videos on YouTube have like 100,000 views, like 100 million views. And you're like,
oh yeah.
The video is like 6 months old. And you're like 100 million. You're like,
yeah.
dude,
my boys' room every single night they listen to what's it called? One of the New Horizon meditations.
Yes. New Horizons ones. And it's like, there's a good new, so there's like the generic New Horizons ones, but the original one with like the there's the one of the Playhouse, and then there's the one of Santa Claus on the North Pole, and then there's the puppy one. The puppy. And we got the puppy. And it's the softest puppy you've ever had.
Sorry, I don't know what just happened there.
New Horizons vlog was a deal breaker for you, wasn't it?
I didn't want to hear you talk bad about the movie.
But yeah, it's crazy. YouTube's a crazy thing.
It is. And I thought about just not getting back on here because I've already had you on for like 2.5 hours. Congratulations, man. Fist bump. That's the longest
Jesus. Show. Well, what else am I gonna do on a Friday night?
Actually, I've had one other show that went like, I think close to 2 hours, and my producer like called me the day after I uploaded it, and he's like, "Jesus, what'd you guys talk about that whole time?" I was like, "I don't know."
Well, you have to slim this down to like 30 minutes of like prime real estate.
Yeah, there you go. I'll have it all quick cuts, and it'll be like it'll almost sound scripted. Like there was no pauses
great.
between anybody talking. We'll be the two sharpest, fastest guys on the interweb.
Jesus. Well, it's getting late there. Is there anything else you want to wrap up with?
It's gotten early here.
Yeah,
it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Jesus Christ.
It's cool. I had a soda when I was doing the other podcast, so I'm pretty caffeine sensitive, so it kept me up. I yawned once or twice while we were talking, but it had nothing to do with you, I promise.
How dare you?
I know. I hid my face behind my pop screen so you wouldn't see it.
And that beard.
And this beard. Dude, this mustache is insane. I can pull it down right now to like that far.
Oh my gosh. That's
And the funny thing is, I had a kind of a little bigger than this one, a beard, and I trimmed it myself and I screwed it up. So I was like, damn it. And I just took it down to like a 1 guard, but I was like, I'm not going to touch the mustache. So I left this big mustache and then grew the beard back out. Haven't bit the mustache or trimmed that. And it's just huge now. The first time the other day, I was eating something and I took a bite and I went, ow. And the hair pulled in my teeth.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I do. I look like a homeless. God. I look like a homeless guy right now with my bald head, just hair wisping in the wind.
You'd be David Cross Jr.
Yeah.
I got the kid.
For a second, I thought you were going to say David Crosby.
No, not to. I got to get Giuseppe his medicine money.
Well, let's wrap this thing up. Tell anybody who's listening right now, I'll put it in the show notes too, but tell them where they can find your stuff and what they should be looking for from you.
You can find me at stellar.co/Peter Terrace, a social media platform that I'm. If you want to find my surf photography or just chat about photography in general, we can hang out there. Also, my chess.com profile is Peter Terrace as well too. If you want to play a game of chess, I usually go queen en passant and push pawn on e4 to e5. So trying to push the chess thing too. And then Instagram, which is just Peter Terrace. I think it's my Instagram. I do a nightly wine review usually for Trader Joe's bottles under $10. I will give you the highest insights into. We didn't talk wine, which is such a massive part of my life, but that's okay. We could do that in the next 2.5 hours.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say part 2 coming on Tuesday.
Yeah, let's do that. but surf wine is my surf wine review, where I pair the best Trader Joe's wines in $10 with the world's best surfers, with notes of Gabriel Medina and Adriano de Souza, which is a hint of Clay Marzo in this one right here. So
lovely.
Yeah, so wine reviews and obviously Cook of the Day, which we're starting to make some content on there, and trying to save money by selling enough t-shirts so that we could spend all that money to make funny shit to make everyone laugh.
Yeah, and then I'll see if I can't get a link to that video you sent me to with the one that you and John made, and then also no that too, and then also yeah, man, I still, that song you were talking about earlier, stuff that's living in your head rent free. That song, this is what you want, this is what you get.
Yeah, that's really really good. Those guys get it. That's fun. That's fun surfing. That's where surfing needs to get back to.
Yeah, that and the shot of the guy driving his tractor and pulling his trash behind it. That shot, for some reason, more than any other shot,
so good
in my head.
See, that's fun. Go to the beach, have fun, laugh, have a good time with your friends, high five, and just don't take surfing too seriously.
Yeah, it's supposed to be fun, everybody.
It's inclusive. It's not exclusive, and that's why we're here. We want to have friends with we all want to have fun with their friends and put a smile on their face.
That's right.
We're all kooks in our own way.
Yay.
Depending on the day, you or I.
Yeah. 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 If you ever see a fat, bald guy with a little bit of hair on his back trying to stand up, but he can't quite get his back knee off the board, that might
Those
be me.
are
Just
hey, and
tell me good job, buddy.
that might be my highlight, is that your stoke on standing up for the first time, and the smile on your face might make my day. For real. And that's what it's all about.
There you go.
Seriously, like I've had more fun watching other people get the wave of their life or day. Those have been some of my favorite surf sessions, is watching someone else have the best time ever.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to be the world's best surfer, I don't know. Sometimes that's just not that fun.
Yeah. No, I'm sure the guys that are all putting it all on the line to try to be the best, just like look at kids or even grown-ups who suck and are just smiling and are like, man, I think those guys have got it right, not me.
Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't give up their endorsements or their paychecks or anything like that either.
Oh, it's
but
we should have to do a case study on that.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Figure out what is the perfect amount of taking yourself seriously and not giving a shit.
That's the magic potion right there.
Mm-hmm. If we ever figure out the magic balance, then we're going to be bajillionaires.
Jeff, SpaceX, Surf X.
Yeah,
we'll be Surf X, the next frontier.
Yeah, we'll throw our hats in the ring. We'd like to also be king of Mars.
We're going to be the king of Waco. No, the king of Waco. There's a surf pool there. Never mind. That's your audience isn't going to get that. Never mind.
I thought you were talking about that. The weird guy.
That too. Waco, Texas has a brilliant.
Like you can be like that guy. David, I'll support you from afar.
That documentary is amazing, by the way. But David Koresh, right?
Yes, that sounds right. I always wanted to say Mark David Chapman, but that's the other guy.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a fun podcast, man. We talked about all kinds of shit, which is perfect for me because I've got one of the most ADD brains possibly ever.
Yeah, you can challenge me. We're gonna have an AD. We're gonna have an AD fest. Yeah,
maybe next time we do talk, we should have somebody in the room with us, just going like, "Hey guys."
I think so. Yeah, you might beat me on the. Yeah, you can give me a run for my money. We're gonna need a referee.
Yeah, I still don't think I've asked you the one question yet. We just have been talking. I was gonna tell you this thing, but and then this too.
I started thinking about it, and then I was like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna answer that, and then we've our front. If this podcast was a front yard, it would be full of massive gopher holes in different terrains that we went down.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it would just be littered with lots of different car parts, but none of it was actually makes a full car.
Thing. Same analogy. Like That's a better analogy. I thought one better. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good though. I think you should do a Nintendo podcast though.
Oh, dude. Maybe I will.
I want to talk way more about Nintendo. Like the Nintendo hat makes me so.
Yeah, and golf. We didn't even say Nintendo golf with Mario as the guy that you golf with.
That's pretty good, but I love them. The Nintendo hat made me so happy.
I know, man. Me too. I'm so bummed out though that it's starting to chip off just a little bit right here in the top.
So rad.
So gotta go find a new one. And you know what? Cool. I looked on the inside to see. Well, who made this hat? And all it says on the inside is Nintendo company, one size fits all, made in China.
You just need to start a drop shipping company and just start making those.
There you go.
I love that.
Except it wouldn't be as cool as this one because this one actually you can feel the buttons.
Oh, it's so rad.
They're raised. Yeah, I'm pretty cool like
that. I love that hat.
I know.
It's so cool.
Well, if I find another one for myself, I'll get one and send it to you.
That would be incredible. I love that.
Hell yeah, brother. All right,
man.
Hey, man, it's been great getting to know you.
You too.
Let's keep in touch, huh? And then your episode will be out in just a couple days on Monday.
All 4.5 hours of it. That's fantastic.
Yep, all 15 hours in 3 different miniseries chunks. Oh my
God, let's do a part 2 soon, please.
Yeah, man.
That was cool.
I'll definitely keep you in the imaginary Rolodex. You know, nobody actually has a real one of those anymore. But yeah, let's keep in touch, man. Any cool stuff comes your way?
Thank you so much.
Any cool stuff comes your way, pass it to me, man. I love your style. I love it all.
Okay, I'm gonna send you some links to some things if you want to put it in your page or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. And then if you got anything else that you want me to talk about too, I I have a little blog, and I can I usually talk about something that I pulled away from the guest or something like that, or if a guest has stuff they want to plug, I'll put it up there too.
Yeah. Okay. I'll send you some more stuff.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Get some sleep. Thanks for so much of the time, and thanks for having me. This was my first podcast experience, and it was awesome.
I loved it, man. And
Thank you.
I'm going to tell people that we're friends now, so expect texts every now and then, just being like, "Hey, man,
dude. Yeah, you sleep on my couch. I mean, we'll have to share it because I sleep on it too. But
okay, that's cool. We'll make a freak den with your couches.
A freak chamber. Yes.
A freak chamber. Yeah.
Yes. Let's do it.
We'll sleep in the freak chamber. We'll hold hands.
Yes.
Cool, man.
That.
All right, everybody,
Yes,
check out Peter Terrace. He's the coolest guy on the planet, says me.
Thanks for having me. Let's play chess.
Yay.
Drink wine or surf.
Yes.
Or something.
All of the above at the same time.
Yeah, let's do it all. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Hey, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and listening to this interview with Peter Terrace. Check him out. I've got all of his contacts in the notes. And you know what? Go to buymeacoffee.com/creativeops and buy me a coffee. And then hit me up on my social media after you go to christophertalon.com. Say hey, and I'll say hey back to you. And it'll be awesome.